Chapter 1349. The competition stage was very spacious and could accommodate 1,000 people at the same time without being crowded. Although there were more than 700 people who signed up, only 600 of them could actually fight on the stage. Because of their own materials, not every alchemist participating in the alchemy battle could come up with the materials for the slaughter pill. Once they couldn't come up with the materials, they would automatically be eliminated. In this kind of competition, there was no such thing as fairness or unfairness. The main divine grasses needed for the slaughter pill were the brilliant bone grass, the broken mountain vine, and the impermanence heavenly tendon. Although these materials were precious, there weren't many alchemists in this place who couldn't come up with them. Which alchemy battle on the mysterious yellow heavens beyond competition stage wasn't a powerhouse? Not to mention the spiritual medicine garden. Even in the spiritual medicine world, everyone probably had one or even a few. Although Ning Cheng had a few large spiritual medicine gardens in the mysterious yellow bead, he wasn't considered rich in this place. Kid, you should know where my remaining good fortune azure lotus petal went, right? When everyone took part in the competition, Xingxi walked up to Ning Cheng and asked in a cold tone. Ning Cheng frowned. He had guessed that Chu Wujian's weapon evolved from the Good Fortune Azure Lotus Petal and knew that the Good Fortune Azure Lotus wasn't perfect. But how did Xingxi know about this? More than a year ago, I felt the aura of the Good Fortune Azure Lotus Petal. Although it was only for a moment, I definitely didn't sense it wrong. Moreover, I also felt your aura next to the aura of the Good Fortune Azure Lotus. You should have obtained the petal of the Green Lotus of Creation, right? Hand over the Good Fortune Azure Lotus petal. Otherwise, don't blame me for being impolite. Xingxi's tone carried a hint of killing intent. Ning Cheng secretly cursed at his bad luck and said in an equally cold tone, I don't have the Good Fortune Azure Lotus petal. If you want to fight, I'll accompany you. While speaking, Ning Cheng raised his hand and the Good Fortune Divine Spear appeared between him and Xingxi. He couldn't explain why the Good Fortune Azure Lotus Petal was with Chu Wujian. At the same time, he didn't want Xingxi to perfect the Good Fortune Azure Lotus. As soon as Ning Cheng brought out the Good Fortune Divine Spear, it immediately attracted a lot of attention. Xingxi glanced at Ning Cheng but didn't move. Instead, she turned to the other side and shot out a flame, ready to concoct the pill. Ning Cheng understood that Xingxi didn't want to let him go, but she didn't dare to do anything here. Even if she was stronger, she wouldn't be able to get away with it if she fought here. Since Xingxi didn't move, he had no reason to do it. Putting away the Fortune Divine Spear, Zhang Xian summoned a ball of flames as well. At the same time, he also understood why Xingxi had come looking for him. It seemed like she had come specifically for him. But when he came here and saw the competition, he decided to join in. Time, it, divine, he, holy flame, were up. It was actually the nameless sacred flame. There was no one who didn't want this kind of flame. Holy, up with, divine, was, she had up with, up with, up, with, she firmly, time, comma, she, determined, with, good. Fortune, with time, with, divine, time, when Ning with time, she wouldn't make the same mistake of chasing Emo on Ning Cheng. Everyone's attention only lasted for a short time. When everyone started to refine the slaughter pill, the entire stage was quickly surrounded by killing intent, and the powerful killing aura almost materialized on the stage. The slaughter pill needed to contain killing intent. With 600 or 700 people refining the slaughter pill at the same time, the killing intent contained in it was naturally majestic. Ning Cheng had already tried refining pills without a furnace. It was just like when one didn't use a weapon furnace to refine an elixir. The elixir that was refined contained a wild and violent nature. This kind of pill wasn't suitable for cultivation, but it was perfect for refining the slaughter pill. Although the primordial Tao pill was precious, it wasn't complicated for Ning Cheng. However, when Ning Cheng refined the slaughter pill, he didn't just use the few main god spirit grasses from the original pill recipe. He changed the main god spirit grasses into 4. In addition to the brilliant bone grass, broken mountain vine, and impermanence heavenly tendons, he also added a material, sea burial astral sand. The sea burial astral sand wasn't an alchemy material, but an artifact crafting material. When refining a weapon, adding the sea burial astral sand could enhance the killing aura and killing power. Although it couldn't improve the weapon's grade, it could improve the weapon's combat power. The reason why Ning Cheng added the sea burial astral sand was because he guessed that the second round would be in pill battle. Otherwise, no one would have refined such a simple pill like the slaughter pill in the first round. Because refining such a pill, even if one refined it in the void, it wouldn't eliminate a true alchemy powerhouse. Ning Cheng also knew that he wasn't the only one who could guess the second round of the pill battle. Most people could guess that the second round would be in pill battle. Since they could guess that the second round would be in pill battle, everyone would at most integrate a stronger killing intent and slaughter Dao charm when refining the slaughter pill. There weren't many alchemists like Ning Cheng who could add the sea burial astral sand to the slaughter pill. Even if someone could join in, they probably wouldn't be able to finish refining the slaughter pill within an hour. Adding the sea burial astral sand to the pill refining material was extremely difficult. Ning Cheng's pill Dao level had touched Dao integration pill divine state, and he was also a top-grade forgery master. Although it was difficult to add the sea burial astral sand into a Dao essence Dao pill, it wasn't impossible. Originally, Ning Cheng only needed 15 minutes to finish refining the slaughter pill, but because he added the sea burial astral sand, Ning Cheng used 15 minutes to finish. 2 incense sticks of time to concoct a cauldron of slaughter pill wasn't slow at all. When Ning Cheng put away the flame and pill spell and looked at Xing Shi, he saw that Xing Shi had already finished and was staring at Yemo. Ning Cheng immediately realized that the first person to finish refining the slaughter pill wasn't him nor Xing Shi, it was Yemo. 2 hours passed quickly, and when Fei Yin stood on the stage and announced that it was time for pill concoction, everyone had finished. Other than a few who failed, more than 90% of the alchemists had completely refined the slaughter pill. Fei Yin stood on the stage and saluted with her fists. The first round is over, we will now proceed to the second round. All pill saints, please open the jade bottles of the slaughter pills you have refined and place them on the stage, then withdraw from the stage. The second round was indeed a pill battle. Just like Ning Cheng, the contestants didn't have any objections. Clearly, everyone had guessed what the second round would be. As the contestants left the stage, the restriction on the stage was activated again. Fei Yin threw a few formation flags onto the stage and a berserk murderous chi started to spread on the stage. In just a few breaths of time, the many jade bottles placed on the stage began to sway as one slaughter pill after another rushed out of the jade bottles, emitting waves of slaughter aura. This murderous chi soon covered the entire stage. Those slaughter pills that didn't have time to rush out of the jade bottles were smashed by the murderous chi of the pills that rushed out first. It was a pill battle indeed, much more exciting than pill concoction. Thousands of pills were strewn all over the competition stage, and each pill represented a pill refiner's killing intent. From time to time, these pills would give off bursts of murderous Dao charm, as if they wanted to smash apart the surrounding pills. Some of the pills, when they were about to break apart, even rushed towards the other pills. Even if they were about to break apart, they still wanted to smash apart the other pills. Although it was only a pill battle, but the roars of the murderous chi caused the restrictions on the stage to shake. Although it was obviously a pill battle, but it carried with it a kind of metal clashing sound. All the spectators felt as if they were not looking at thousands of pills fighting each other on the stage, but rather thousands of soldiers and horses fighting each other. However, everyone was clear in their hearts that in a pill battle, it was not enough to rely on the strength of the slaughter pills that they refined. Pills themselves did not have any spiritual wisdom, and this kind of chaotic battle meant that the opponents of each pill were not fixed. As a pill, perhaps it would just kill off a pill next to it, but would end up being bombarded by the murderous chi of another pill. Therefore, in this kind of pill battle, in addition to the pill itself being powerful, it also required a certain amount of luck. Luck had always been a kind of strength. Only those extremely high-grade and powerful slaughter pills would instinctively try to avoid the murderous chi that they could avoid. Ning Cheng could feel that his 12 pills were invincible, smashing apart all the surrounding pills that wanted to attack him, causing him to feel slightly relieved in his heart. The effect of the sea burial astral sand finally manifested. This murderous chi definitely did not come from the slaughter pills alone. The murderous chi of the slaughter pills on the stage permeated through the stage, causing some of the spectating holy emperors to feel a little scared. In the face of thousands of such powerful murderous chi, even if a person with a slightly weaker cultivation went up, they would most likely be torn apart by these pills. Dao charm explosions and the sound of metal clashing reverberated throughout the stage. However, the number of slaughter pills on the stage kept decreasing. Originally, there were thousands of slaughter pills, but at this moment, there were only less than 100. As the roars of the Dao charm explosions weakened, the spectators quickly discovered that the remaining slaughter pills' murderous chi grew even stronger. Moreover, there was another extremely strange scene. Among the more than 100 surviving slaughter pills, more than 80 slaughter pills were suspended in various corners and did not continue to participate in the battle. And in the middle of the stage, there were close to 20 slaughtering pills, surrounding another 10 slaughtering pills, still fighting. Some people thought that they were seeing things, but when they looked carefully, they found that it was indeed the case. The 30 slaughter pills on the stage seemed to have a spiritual nature, forming two factions. Among them, the 20 pills on the periphery were one faction, while the 10 pills in the middle were the other faction. Waves after waves of killing chi were released from the 20 slaughter pills on the outer perimeter, exploding towards the 10 slaughter pills that were surrounded. At the same time, the 10 slaughter pills also exuded a powerful murderous chi, which clashed with the incoming murderous chi of the Dao charm. This murderous chi formed a whirlpool-shaped space, blowing away all the slaughter pills on the periphery. In the end, it formed a situation where the 30 slaughter pills fought here, while the remaining slaughter pills watched from the side. Chapter 1350. Ning Cheng subconsciously glanced at Emo. He knew that Emo must have added other materials like him when he was concocting pills. Otherwise, there wouldn't be 10 pills left now. At the same time, Xing Shi also added other materials into her pill concoction. Ning Cheng sighed helplessly. No one with a fortune treasure was weak indeed. Now, each of them had 10 pills left, but he and Yemo's slaughter pill were working together. This was caused by his will when he was concocting pills. It could be seen that Yemo also added the will to get rid of Xing Shi's pill when he was concocting pills. The stage was isolated by restriction and no one's spirit sense could interfere. Kacha, one of the 30 medicinal pills, broke into pieces. Ning Cheng's heart sunk. This shattered pill was his. Before he could react, there were 2 more cracks. Yemo's pill and Xing Shi's pill each shattered. Ning Cheng knew that the strongest person in this tournament was Xing Shi. Next was the Divine Dao sect leader Yemo. His power was ranked 3rd. Just as he had expected, the slaughter pill not only competed in pill concoction but also cultivation level. From this, it could be seen that Xing Shi was probably the strongest in terms of pill concoction power alone. At this moment, Ning Cheng was very worried. Time was almost up, and the 3 of them each had 9 pills. If he couldn't get rid of one of Xing Shi's pills, then he might be ranked 3rd or tied with Yemo for 2nd. He couldn't let Xing Shi get first. However, Ning Cheng couldn't control his slaughter pill to attack Xing Shi's Dao pill. The slaughter pill in the middle of the battle platform seemed to have understood Ning Cheng's thoughts, as the murderous aura suddenly turned violent, rolling up a whirlpool of aura as it rushed towards Xing Shi's pill. At the same time, Yemo's 9 slaughter pills also erupted. Kacha! Another sound of a pill shattering rang out. Pills were pills after all. No matter how strong the slaughter chi was, it still lacked power in a real clash. Ning Cheng rejoiced. This time, it was Xing Shi's pill. Xing Shi only had 8 slaughter pills. If he and Yemo attacked with their slaughter pills, Xing Shi would be kicked out of first for sure. Xing Shi's slaughter pills seemed to know that the situation wasn't good. They suddenly dispersed and rushed out of the encirclement. The scattered pills immediately stirred up the slaughter pills refined by the other cultivators. The slaughter pills were originally hiding at the side of the stage, but after this disturbance, the slaughter chi in the stage once again spread out. Even though the slaughter pills at this time had become even fewer, the slaughter pills that were left behind were the few that had the strongest slaughter chi. The sounds of pills shattering became more frequent, and after the time it took for an incense stick to burn, Fei Yin suddenly threw down the array flag. The murderous aura on the stage suddenly slowed down, and the pills that were tangled together slowly separated and fell on the jade plate that had been prepared in advance. There were a total of 7 jade plates floating in the air. The first and second jade plates had 7 pills on them respectively, while the third jade plate had 6 pills. The fourth jade plate only had 2 elixirs, while the other jade plates only had 1 elixir each. Ning Qing breathed easy, he knew that he only had 7 pills left. Xing Shi still had 6 pills left under his and Yimo's slaughter pills. This woman was too strong. Indeed, Fei Yin stood on the stage and announced, "The second round of the pill battle has ended, there are 7 pills concocted by Pill Divine left. Because we're only taking the top 3, the Pill Divine with the first 4 jade plates please come on the stage." Ning Qing stepped onto the stage and saw other than Yi Mo and Xing Shi, there was also a white-haired old man he had never seen before. This white-haired old man seemed to be at creation state. His long white hair made him seem to have the immortal chi of the longevity god. The white-haired old man stood next to the jade plate that only had 2 pills left. Clearly, he concocted these 2 pills. "Now, I announce the first place of the first round is 2 people, Yi Mo and Ning Cheng, second is Xing Shi, third is Liao Gung Daoist." As Fei Yin's announcement sounded, the first round of the pill battle ended. There were 2 people in first place, Ning Cheng and Yi Mo. The second place was that woman who suddenly joined. Third was an old man many people didn't know, he was called Liao Gung Daoist. Ning Cheng knew very well that his attainments in the Tao of alchemy could only rank 3rd here, while this woman named Xing Shi ranked 1st. Not only Ning Cheng knew this, but the judges also knew this. But no one would stand up and say anything. This woman was an uninvited guest. The first pill competition ended in less than a day's time. One could see that the purpose of this competition was to quickly divide the realms of heaven beyond. Xing Shi didn't say anything and just grabbed the pills she concocted and asked Fei Yin, "What's the second round?" Fei Yin already knew that Xing Shi wasn't simple, so he quickly answered, "The second round is forgery battle. The host is Shou-Yi Realm's Dao friend Helan Feng." Helan Feng landed beside Fei Yin and nodded to Xing Shi. Then, he cupped his fists and said, "Fellow Taoists, everyone knows that having a good Dharma treasure is a guarantee for a starry sky cultivator's life. Now, let's move on to the second round, which is the forgery battle. I'll host the forgery battle. I'm Helan Feng from Shou-Yi Realm. There are a total of 921 people who signed up for the forgery battle." Xing Shi interrupted Helan Feng and said, "I will also participate in the battle of tools." Then, she turned around and flew off the stage. This woman was really arrogant. This was Helan Feng's only impression of her. He knew that she was very powerful. If she wasn't, Mountain Gaze Dao Lord wouldn't have accommodated her. Dao friends, the second round also has no round limit. The final goal is to decide the top 3. When Helan Feng announced on the stage, many people who were participating or watching already knew that there wouldn't be too many rounds. There definitely wouldn't be too many rounds for dueling weapons. It was just like pill duels only had 2 rounds to decide the winner. At the moment, it was better to decide the top 10 as soon as possible. This was purely a competition for points and not a competition to verify one's alchemy or blacksmithing abilities. Before the competition in Heavens Beyond, we said that we wouldn't provide any materials for this competition. However, we'll provide materials for the first round of blacksmithing. Ning Cheng was a little puzzled by Helan Feng's words. Even though he didn't know the content of the competition, he knew that it wasn't really a test of strength but to determine the ranking. Since they were providing materials, it was really a competition of strength. Everyone was using the same kind of material. Naturally, those who were capable would be ranked at the top while those who were incapable would be ranked at the bottom. Upon seeing the discussion going on below the stage, He Lan Feng simply waved his hand and threw nearly 1,000 fist-sized things. These things floated in the void of the stage. Were these Dharma treasure fragments? Ning Cheng immediately recognized these things at a glance. He had seen too many such Dharma treasure fragments back in the Jiao Mountain's Heaven-Earth Divine Tomb. Although the Dharma treasure fragments thrown out by He Lan Feng were fragmented, their Dao runes were crisscrossing, showing that their levels were not low. These were fragments of a top-notch Dharma treasure. It was unknown whether He Lan Feng had provided these Dharma treasure fragments or the 7 people who hosted the competition had provided them together. While Ning Cheng was still puzzled, He Lan Feng continued, these Dharma treasure fragments were provided by Dao Lord Mountain Gaze of the Heavenly Gate Realm, who participated in the First Creation War. He also picked up these Dharma treasure fragments from the battlefield of the First Creation War. Most importantly, He Lan Feng deliberately paused before continuing, most importantly, these Dharma treasure fragments are from a Dharma treasure. The quality of this Dharma treasure can even surpass any divine weapon. Although it can't be compared to a Khanate Dharma treasure, it's second only to a Khanate Dharma treasure. Upon hearing this, everyone was secretly shocked. An existence second only to a Khanate Dharma treasure had actually been blasted into pieces. There were even 1,000 fragments. Just how powerful was the Dharma treasure that bombarded this Dharma treasure? The first round of the artifact duel is for each person to obtain a Dharma treasure fragment. Then, based on the aura of the Dharma treasure fragment, you have to find out what the Dharma treasure was like before it broke and what its main function was. The second round is to refine the Dharma treasure fragment you obtained and extract the materials used to refine the Dharma treasure. The purer the materials, the higher the score. Hearing He Lan Feng's words, everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. Not only the people participating in the artifact duel, but even the onlookers also sucked in a breath of cold air. Even those who didn't understand artifact crafting knew that once the materials were melted and started to refine the Dharma treasure, the materials would start to change. Moreover, different flames and different spiritual consciousnesses would cause different changes to the Dharma treasure. Sometimes, even a small difference could cause a huge change in the materials. Because of this, people could use the same materials to refine different things. Some people could even refine Dharma treasures with completely opposite effects. Although it was difficult to identify the original form of the Dharma treasure fragment, it was still possible. Extracting the original materials from the fragments was simply too difficult. Ning Cheng also felt speechless. This was the most difficult question he had encountered since he participated in the various artifact duels. Fortunately, this question came up during the artifact crafting round. If Fei Yin had taken out a medicinal pill during the alchemy round and asked him to restore the divine grass, he would have directly admitted defeat. Directly admitted defeat? Ning Cheng suddenly recalled Dao Lord Mountain Gazing's words. What was the purpose of cultivation? To set foot at the peak of the vast universe and control one's own destiny. His grand Dao was the primal chaos unification. If he cultivated his grand Dao to the extreme, the entire vast universe would be under his control. Wouldn't he be able to restore a Dharma treasure fragment to its original form with just a raise of his hand? Not to mention Dharma treasures, even medicinal pills could be restored to the state of spiritual grasses as long as one had that kind of spiritual power. No matter how many changes a material went through, its original form would never change. Chapter 1351. As He Lan Feng announced the start of the blacksmithing competition, nearly 1,000 contestants boarded the competition platform. Ning Cheng also flew to the competition platform and thousands of fragments floated above it. Ning Cheng glanced at them and subconsciously felt that one of the ear-shaped fragments seemed to have a familiar aura. Without thinking much about it, Ning Cheng walked past the fragments around him and grabbed the ear-shaped fragment. Unexpectedly, before he could grab the ear-shaped fragment, an aura instantly rushed over. Ning Cheng did not need to observe to know that it was Xing Shi. Without thinking much, Ning Cheng grabbed the ear-shaped fragment and took out the creation divine spear. This woman still hasn't given up. Is she going to plot against me? Give me the fragment in your hand. I like this kind of fragment. She did not attack Ning Cheng. Instead, she looked at him calmly and said. Seeing that she didn't want to kill him, but came here for this fragment, Ning Cheng also put away the good fortune spirit spear and looked at Shi with a cold gaze. There are many fragments here. Do you think I'm related to you? Why should I give you the fragment in my hand? Get lost. She was a peerless expert, while Ning Cheng, a puny early-stage Dao integration cultivator who only had a creation Dharma treasure, dared to tell her to get lost? At that moment, Shi's face turned pale and her killing intent condensed into a substance. Ning Cheng confronted Shi without any fear. It would be best if this woman attacked and then everyone would attack together to drive this woman out of heavens beyond. Shi stared at Ning Cheng for a while but did not attack in the end. Instead, she took a deep breath and dispersed her killing intent. At the same time, she tried to slow down her tone and said, "Give me this fragment and I'll agree to one of your requests. Get lost. Don't blame me for making a move if you keep being long-winded." Ning Cheng did not have a good impression of this woman. An Yi had been suppressed by this woman for countless years and had almost died in her hands. He himself had almost been killed by this woman, so it would be strange if he had a good impression of this woman. "Very well, remember what you said today." She shouted at Ning Cheng sternly before retreating. She had always wanted this fragment, so Ning Cheng already had some doubts in his heart. After she left, Ning Cheng took out the fragment. As soon as the fragment was in his hand, an ancient aura of vicissitude spread. Amidst this ancient vicissitude, there was a trace of murderous aura. Ning Cheng did not rush to melt this fragment, but rather penetrated it with his spiritual consciousness. Clang! A simple and desolate sound of a bell suddenly resounded within Ning Cheng's sea of consciousness, causing Ning Cheng's spirit to suddenly clear up, as his spiritual sense was blocked out from this fragment. Could it be that this fragment was once a bell-shaped magic weapon? Ning Cheng's gaze swept towards the rest of the people. He found that most of the people here had already brought out their flames and started to melt the magical weapon fragments. Only that woman, Shi, was still glaring at him hatefully, clearly unwilling to give up. Ning Cheng ignored this woman and once again tried to penetrate the fragment with his spiritual consciousness. The ancient and vast bell sound once again fell within his spiritual consciousness. Although the sound of the bell was dang, it contained a kind of deep and vast sound of a drum. This was definitely not an ordinary magic treasure. In fact, it was not even a magic treasure that had not reached the Khanate level. Just a fragment of the bell had such an effect. How powerful was this magic treasure? Because of the previous experience of having his spiritual sense expelled, Ning Cheng was already prepared when his spiritual consciousness penetrated the fragment for the second time. The ancient bell sound did not expel his spiritual consciousness again. Soon, an ancient battle scene appeared in his mind. An ancient giant bell was suspended in the void, and the countless magic treasures in the surroundings were all bombarding this giant bell. Dang! 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 The giant bell suddenly gave off a burst of bell chimes, which then rolled up thousands of Dao charm auras. Countless weapons bombarding the giant bell were knocked away, but the giant bell hit a wine pot head-on. Kacha, the sound of the Dao runes exploding could be heard. This wine pot simply couldn't withstand the pressure of the giant bell, and it shattered into countless pieces. The ear-shaped fragment in his hand didn't belong to the giant bell, but to the ear of the broken wine pot. So powerful, Ning Cheng felt shocked. This giant bell was too powerful. What kind of bell was it? No, this bell felt very familiar. Ning Cheng quickly remembered that he had seen this bell before. When he reached Dao unification in the slaughter world, he had seen traces of the battle between the giant bell and the good fortune azure lotus. The giant bell he saw just now was definitely the copper bell that had collided with the good fortune azure lotus. Whether it was the traces of the battle or the Dao charm aura, it was exactly the same. At that time, he had thought about how great it would be if he could find this giant bell. Later, the remnant soul of the slaughter world took over his body, and he had forgotten about it after that. He didn't expect to see the image of this giant bell again today. At this time, he also understood why Xing Shi wanted the ear of his wine pot. Because although the wine pot was broken, the ear recorded traces of the battle's Dao charm aura from the giant bell. Not only did it record the battle scene and the Dao charm aura, but it also contained traces of spirit techniques. Ning Qing couldn't help but secretly admire Xing Shi's vision. It seemed that she could see through this pot's ear at a glance. She most likely wanted this pot's ear because she wanted the huge copper bell, which showed that Xing Shi definitely knew about the power of the bell. If it weren't for his good luck and being close to the fragment, Xing Shi would have taken it away a long time ago. Ning Qing tried to record all the auras inside the crystal ball. He tried several crystal balls in a row but couldn't record anything on it. Ning Qing felt helpless. He knew that he was too weak and couldn't control all the traces of the Dao charm aura on it. Xing Shi wanted this giant bell, and so did Ning Qing. He put away the pot's ear fragment, walked up to Yilan Feng, cupped his fists, and said, "Judge He, can I ask for another fragment?" Yilan Feng shook his head, "Dao friend Ning, although there are still some fragments, I can't give them to you. If you ask for two, it wouldn't be fair to the others." Ning Qing also knew that it was unlikely for him to get another fragment. Therefore, he came here to try his luck. Since there were no more fragments, he had to admit defeat. He couldn't bear to melt the pot's ear fragment. This was the only clue to the huge bell. If he still wanted the bell, he couldn't lose this clue. The things recorded in the ear-shaped fragment looked simple, but in fact, the Dao rune attacks inside were different in every detail. "What, you got a treasure?" Yi Mo walked over. Ning Qing nodded, "I got a good thing. There's a huge bell magic artifact inside. I suspect I've heard of that bell." "Let me see the fragment," Yi Mo said. Ning Qing didn't hesitate. Xing Shi was also suspicious. If he wanted to deal with Xing Shi, he would need to join forces with Yi Mo. In that case, he might as well show it to Yi Mo. In the distance, Xing Shi watched Ning Qing and Yi Mo talk, and her face grew worse. However, this kind of battle was only to determine the ranking. Whispering during the battle was allowed. If they came from the same realm, they could talk to each other. Yi Mo took the pot's ear fragment and scanned his spirit sense in. Soon, his face had a sliver of shock and amazement like Ning Qing. After a while, Yi Mo gave the magic artifact fragment to Ning Qing. Yi Mo said quietly, "I suspect this is the East Emperor Bell, but this is too absurd." "East Emperor Bell?" Ning Qing looked at Yi Mo in confusion. Did Tian Muwen tell this legend to Yi Mo? He had thought about it too, but he also felt it was unbelievable. The East Emperor Bell was a true legend, but he wasn't in the legend. He was in the vast universe. But other than the East Emperor Bell, what magic artifact could stop the Fortune Green Lotus? "No need to doubt, I'm the same as you, I came from Earth." Yi Mo patted Ning Qing's shoulder and sighed. "You came from Earth, this?" Ning Qing didn't dare to believe it, but just like what Yi Mo said, this was too absurd. He believed Yi Mo wouldn't lie to him. Was Yi Mo also taken away by the Fortune Golden Page? No wonder when she saw Yi Mo today, she seemed to treat him differently. Yi Mo said heavily, "We'll talk about this later. I heard Yi Mo say that Earth is enveloped by an extremely precious time law world. This law world is far more precious than you and I can imagine." Ning Qing knew about the world of laws. He had heard Song Wei talk about it in the past, about the various worlds of laws within the void. The larger time law worlds were the most precious. "Sect leader Yi, I've decided to quit the battle, you can forge first. We'll talk about other things after you finish." Ning Qing didn't know what Yi Mo wanted to say, but now that he decided to quit, he couldn't waste Yi Mo's time. Yi Mo nodded and continued, "When I heard He Lanfeng's question, I felt something and saw the path to the third step. The second creation war is about to come. I'm going to go back and take away that law world on Earth. Then, I'm going to go to a place as fast as I can and reach the third step. This will probably take some time." I don't know exactly how long it will take. So after the battle, I'm going to leave. Ha! Ning Qing subconsciously glanced at Xing Shi. If Yi Mo left, even with Xiao Xinshi and Ao Can's help, he was far from a match for Xing Shi. Yi Mo knew what Ning Qing meant. Don't worry about Xing Shi, this woman might leave immediately after I leave because she knows that place too. Although she succeeded in creating a realm, today's question will make her realize that that place can also allow her to merge her realm. Yi Mo stopped here. Xing Shi didn't even wait for the battle to finish and just tore open the void and took that Shu Chang away. She came and left quickly. Chapter 1352. Seeing Xing Shi leave, Yi Mo's face changed and gave the magic artifact fragment to Ning Qing. This woman doesn't have that law world, it's useless even if she goes first. But I can't waste time, this is for you. When I'm not here, remember to look after the Divine Tao sect for me. Then, Yi Mo quickly said goodbye to the judges and left through the space formation door. Ning Qing knew very well that not only did this question enlighten him, but it also enlightened Yi Mo and Xing Shi. He didn't know where the great Tao land they were fighting for was, but his power was too weak. He didn't have the right to go in yet. Looking at the magic artifact fragment in his hand, Ning Qing sighed. If it wasn't for the Gate of Fortune, he and Yi Mo might be best friends. But as long as the Gate of Fortune opened, there would be a battle between them. Whether it was him or Yi Mo, it would be hard for them to let go of cultivation. Casting these thoughts aside, Ning Cheng's eyes fell on the magic artifact fragment. He felt something was wrong. The magic artifact fragment was clearly a piece of material. Although it wasn't completely purified, it had degenerated into a material. At this moment, Ning Qing realized what Yi Mo meant. Yi Mo knew he didn't have the magic artifact fragment to purify, so he gave it to him. With the restoration of the magic artifact fragment, as long as he worked harder, it would be no problem for him to get first. It was because of this that Yi Mo told him to take care of the Divine Tao sect. Clearly, Yi Mo didn't want to take advantage of him. Ning Qing didn't keep purifying the magic artifact fragment. He needed to learn these things. He had plenty of magic artifact fragments in his storage ring. Judge He, this is the Divine Tao sect leader Yi Mo's purified fragment. He left due to an urgent matter and asked me to hand it over. Ning Qing didn't want Yi Mo's result. Even if he didn't participate in the next 2 rounds, he could get a realm domain from heaven beyond heaven with his result in the first round. Okay, I'll remember it. He Lanfeng nodded and put away the fragments of materials that Ning Qing had given him. He already saw it when Yi Mo gave it to Ning Qing. Of course, if Ning Qing didn't say Yi Mo gave it to him, he wouldn't point it out. The time taken for the weapon duel was much longer than the pill duel. It took a full 3 days before the second round of the weapon duel ended. Below the stage, Ning Qing looked at the contestants using 3 days to restore some materials and couldn't help but sigh at Yi Mo's power. Although Yi Mo's magic artifact fragment was far from being turned back into a material, it had a direction to go. Compared to the many participants who had only refined the remnant restriction Dao runes and refinement traces, it was much stronger. How much time had Yi Mo used to do that? And these contestants used a total of 3 days. He Lanfeng collected all the magic treasure fragments, and the 7 judges began to evaluate them. Because no one was able to completely restore the original material this time, there was a lot more time to judge. Another half a day passed. After Dao Lord Mountain Gazing and the others returned to the judges' seats, He Lanfeng carried the 3 jade plates and walked to the center of the competition platform. The spectators below the stage were all excited. Everyone knew that the result was out. He Lanfeng pointed at the 3 jade plates and said, the results of the second round are out. Third is 3 Essence Realms Qi Qingshui Dao Friend, second is 9 Heavens Realms Yi Qianling Dao Friend and first is Divine Dao Realms Yi Mo Dao Friend. Unlike Fei Yin, who was hosting the competition, Lanfeng not only announced the top 3, but also the domains where the top 3 were located. The materials that the 3 people had restored were suspended above the battle stage. At this time, the restriction on the battle stage had been completely opened. Anyone could see the degree of restoration of the three fragments with their spiritual consciousness. Ning Cheng also saw the degree of restoration. Whether it was Qi Qing Shui or Yi Qianling, they only managed to strip off the Tao wave Qi and restore part of the material's properties. He was still far from being able to restore it. Yimo's magic artifact not only restored most of the material's properties but also gave people a path to follow. Following this path, one could restore the material's original form. Seeing this, Ning Cheng's heart moved. He finally understood the value of Yimo's magic artifact. Yimo gave him this magic artifact fragment not only to let him get a ranking but also to strip away his Tao meridian. According to this degree of restoration, as long as one was given time to comprehend, anyone could slowly touch a trace of the great Tao aura within. Ning Cheng also guessed why Yimo was so generous. Other than him and Yimo both coming from Earth, it was probably because he saved Yimo a few times and was using this to express his gratitude. He didn't say this gratitude out loud, but it was even more beautiful. At this moment, Qi Qing Shui and Yi Qianling were already on the stage. Ning Cheng didn't hesitate and quickly landed on the stage. Yimo's magic artifact couldn't fall into other people's hands. At the same time, he wouldn't try to learn the Tao marks Yimo left in the material. Since he was going to fight at the Gate of Fortune, he would rely on his own power. Touching someone else's Tao Qi and then using such means to fight was indeed more likely to win. But Ning Cheng didn't want to do this. If Yimo was his mortal enemy, he wouldn't mind using such means. Yimo clearly wasn't. Doing this would betray his Tao heart. Tao friend Ning, can you sell this material to me? He Lanfeng suddenly asked. Ning Cheng shook his head, and spoke with a smile, I cannot hand over this material, I'm really sorry. Handing it over was the same as revealing Yimo's Tao. It wouldn't affect Yimo much, but it would lower the value of this material. An item of this level was too worthless to be casually handed over. Ning Cheng planned to give it to Yimo's daughter. The reason he didn't say it was to make people think he had the material. Ning Cheng believed that Yimo already knew he wouldn't give it to someone else. He had only teamed up with Yimo a few times and they both knew what sort of person each other was. He Lanfeng seemed to know his request was too much and smiled awkwardly to Ning Cheng before saying, the second round is over. Now it's the third round, Rune Battle. The Rune Battle will be hosted by Harmless Realm Tao friend Shen Mo. Shen Mo landed on the stage. This was a very scholarly-looking man. Despite only being Spirit Realm primary stage, Ning Cheng felt the power of the void from him. This is a top-notch powerhouse, Ning Cheng thought to himself. Although He Lanfeng's state was a level higher than Shen Mo, he might not be a match for Shen Mo. Ning Cheng knew that Yimo had signed up for Pill Battle, Forgery Battle and Rune Battle. Now that Yimo wasn't here, he gave up on the Rune Battle. Shen Mo saluted with his fists, Tao friends, I'm Shen Mo from Harmless Realm. There are 671 contestants this time. I'll be the host. The rules of the competition were also very simple. Everyone had to prepare their own materials, and whoever refined the talisman with the highest grade and value would be the winner. Now, I announce the start of the Rune Battle. Contestants, please go on stage and make your own rune. The time limit is 4 hours. The rules were simple indeed. It was like comparing who was more talented. Take out your bank card and whoever has more money in the card is more talented. This kind of rune battle depended on materials the most. It could be said that as long as one had precious materials, with the rules of the competition, even if one was slightly weaker, it was still possible to win. This had nothing to do with Ning Cheng. He didn't participate in the rune battle at all. Ning Cheng didn't study runes much. After entering the cosmos, his main focus was on Formation Tao, Forgery Tao, and Pill Tao. He felt that the most complicated and mysterious was Formation Tao. Seeing the hundreds of people on the stage, he felt that Rune Tao wasn't any weaker than Formation Tao. Those talisman refinement masters were able to draw out mysterious Tao runes with just a lift of their hands, and this was similar to when he was refining and carving array foundations. Ning Cheng's eyes soon fell on one of them. It wasn't that this person was better at rune forging than others, but he knew this person. It was Nianyan, who had disappeared for a long time. He didn't expect Nianyan to appear here. Ning Cheng had seen Nianyan's Pill Dao and Formation Dao. Back in Great Change Realm, Nianyan's Formation Dao was probably a little stronger than his. He didn't expect Nianyan to be a rune master. Since Nianyan was here, he wondered if Sun Hanrui was well. Since Nianyan was here, why didn't she look for him? If Nianyan wasn't refining talismans, Ning Cheng would have gone over to ask. Boom boom boom. An hour passed quickly. Just as Ning Cheng was guessing that Nianyan was refining the talisman in her hand, he heard bursts of Dao runes roaring in the void. Not only Ning Cheng, but almost all the people on the Heavens Beyond Square also looked at the void. Immediately, everyone's eyes focused on a talisman suspended in the void above the battle stage. This talisman was gray but filled with powerful Dao rune law aura. Ning Cheng sucked in a breath of cold air. In just an hour, one could refine a talisman that could trigger the roar of heaven and earth's Dao runes. How powerful was the person who refined this talisman? How powerful was this talisman? Ning Cheng's eyes moved away from the talisman suspended in the air and shifted to the person who refined this talisman. This was a man who looked extremely young. Judging from his appearance, he was even younger than Yi Zichen. The young man frowned and looked at the talisman above his head that triggered the roar of the void's Dao runes. He seemed to be very dissatisfied. Chapter 1353. Before the rumbling Dao charm in the void completely disappeared, the young man raised his hand and grabbed the talisman suspended in the void. The young man grabbed the talisman, and the void returned to its original appearance. Although Ning Cheng didn't know what kind of talisman this was, he knew that this young man definitely took first place in this talisman battle. Not only Ning Cheng knew about it, but all the talisman grandmasters participating in the talisman battle also knew about it. In such a short time, no one could refine this kind of talisman that could trigger the rumbling Dao charm of heaven and earth. Ning Cheng's gaze once again fell on Nianyan. Nianyan had also finished refining the talisman. As if knowing that Ning Cheng was looking at her, Nianyan's gaze swept down from the stage and fell on Ning Cheng. She smiled at Ning Cheng, nodded, and then retracted her gaze. Ning Cheng also smiled and nodded at Nianyan. He understood Nianyan's meaning. She wanted him to rest assured. 2 hours passed by quickly. Apart from the talisman refined by the young man that caused the rumbling Dao charm of heaven and earth, no one else could refine this kind of talisman that caused the rumbling Dao charm of heaven and earth. Dang, the bell rang, and Shen Mo flew down to the battle stage and spoke in a calm tone, "The time for the talisman battle has arrived. Dao friends, please stop what you are doing and come down from the battle stage." Although Shen Mo's tone was calm, it carried a kind of surging aura. The few talisman masters who didn't stop for the first time shook their talismans and immediately turned into flying ash. It wasn't until this moment that everyone realized how straightforward this Shen Mo, who spoke in a calm and gentle manner, was. No one dared to stand up and express their disagreement. Ning Cheng knew very well that although there were many people participating in the talisman battle, in fact, no one could really compare to Shen Mo in terms of cultivation. Thinking about his cultivation, Ning Cheng suddenly realized that he had overlooked something. That's right, it was the young talisman grandmaster who refined the talisman that caused the rumbling Dao charm of heaven and earth. Just now, he didn't pay any attention to the other party's cultivation at all. All his attention was focused on the talisman that the other party refined. Ning Cheng quickly turned his gaze to the young man, only to find that the young man's cultivation seemed to change according to his thoughts. It was just like when he felt that this man's cultivation should not exceed the creation realm, the young man's cultivation seemed to be exactly the same as his. When he sensed that the man's cultivation should have surpassed the creation realm, the man's cultivation seemed to have immediately surpassed the creation realm. Ning Cheng took in a deep breath. He knew that this was not because the other party's cultivation had truly changed, but because the other party had used a top-notch method to conceal their cultivation. This method of concealing one's cultivation was very likely to be the use of talismans. If it was really like this, then this fellow's strength would probably not be any weaker than his talisman Dao. Junior apprentice brother Ning, it's been a long time since we last met. Your progress is even greater than what I had imagined. From now on, I will have to call you senior apprentice brother, not junior apprentice brother. Ning Cheng was still secretly shocked by the means of that young man, when Nian Yan's voice interrupted his contemplation. Nian Yan felt very emotional. The last time she saw Ning Cheng, he was still a first-step cultivator who had not even reached Dao transformation. How many years had it been? She was only at the mid-stage primordial chaos realm, but Ning Cheng's realm was higher than hers. She had been able to reach the mid-stage primordial chaos because she had long been able to attain the Dao validation primordial chaos. However, she had never taken this step. This was the result of the accumulation of time. Sure enough, the person with the good fortune treasure was the master of this universe. Ning Cheng returned to his senses and quickly asked, Senior apprentice sister Nian Yan has also made great progress. I'm just lucky. Nian Yan knew that Ning Cheng was talking about luck because of the good fortune mysterious yellow bead. However, she still smiled and said, I've experienced many things in the void trial test over the years. I also know a little about the good fortune war. Maybe I will have to rely on you when that day comes. Ning Cheng also guessed that Nian Yan must have experienced many things over the years. Otherwise, she would not have come to heavens beyond of heaven and earth to participate in the talisman battle competition. Senior apprentice sister Nian Yan, let's talk about this later. I wonder how junior apprentice sister Hanrui is now. Ning Cheng had brought Sun Hanrui here. If he could not save her, he would definitely feel guilty. Nian Yan smiled slightly. Big brother Ning, you can call me Nian Yan in the future. Hanrui is fine. She is now cultivating in the Great Change realm. When I came out, she had just entered the Celestial Scry realm. Hanrui returned to the Great Change realm? Ning Cheng asked in surprise. Nian Yan nodded and replied, yes. After Hanrui woke up, she felt very scared because everything around her was strange. She felt very grateful when she knew that you had brought her out of the graceful star mainland. Although she did not say it, I knew that she had always wanted to return to the people she was familiar with. But later, when she came to the Great Change realm, she gradually got used to it. Because the Great Change realm's heaven and earth laws are very suitable for cultivation, she made rapid progress and decided to stay in the Great Change realm to cultivate. I guess that after knowing about the Good Fortune War, she felt a little stimulated and wanted to improve her cultivation as soon as possible. Then, she wanted to participate in it. Or, she wanted to help you. Ning Cheng felt relieved. Although he knew that if he wanted to appear in the Good Fortune War, he could not just casually improve his cultivation. As long as Sun Hanrui had the motivation to cultivate, it would be good. As a starry sky cultivator, strength was the only criterion for survival. Nian Yan, why did you come here to participate in the mysterious Yellow Heavens Beyond Realm Division competition? Ning Cheng was in a good mood. Nian Yan sighed. I've been looking for a way to reach the third step of Dao validation until I went to Jiaoyang Mountain one day. On Mount Jiaoyang, I obtained some fortuitous encounters and learned some things. I also knew that my guess about the third step was not wrong. At that time, I knew that if I wanted to go further, I had to participate in the Good Fortune War. After knowing that you were also in the mysterious Yellow Heavens Beyond, I planned to stay there for a long time. Ning Cheng smiled. It's easy for you to live in the mysterious Yellow Heavens Beyond. Although I only have one round of points, I'm sure that I can occupy a territory in the mysterious Yellow Heavens Beyond. After Ning Cheng finished speaking, Nian Yan said, I hope to win my place of survival by relying on my own strength. The reason I chose to fight talismans was because I knew that I would have a chance to get into the top 3. I didn't expect to meet such a powerful talisman grandmaster here. If I'm not wrong, this person is probably him. As Nian Yan spoke, she looked at the young man who had refined the Dao Charm Roaring Sound talisman. Do you know him? Ning Cheng looked at Nian Yan in confusion. At the same time, he also understood what Nian Yan meant. She was not related to him. Even if she wanted to stay in the mysterious yellow heavens beyond, she would have to rely on her own strength. Nian nodded. I'm just guessing. I obtained part of Fu Lai's talisman refining inheritance on Jiaoyang Mountain. Besides Fu Lai, I also know that there was an extremely powerful talisman Dao expert called Gu Baoshan. Because Fu Lai's talisman Dao was too powerful, everyone remembered him as the #1 talisman Dao expert, Fu Lai. Naturally, not many people knew who the second person was. In the end, even if the talismans refined by Gu Baoshan leaked out, people said that Fu Lai had refined them. Gu Baoshan was furious and no longer refined talismans for others or participated in various talisman Dao competitions. This might be the tragedy of the second person, but I can see from the inheritance left by Fu Lai that this person called Gu Baoshan's talisman Dao is not worse than his. I suspect that the person who refined the Dao charm Roaring Sound talisman is Gu Baoshan. Do you know what his cultivation realm is? Just as Ning Cheng asked this question, Shen Mo stood on the stage and said, the results of the third round of the talisman battle competition are out. The third place goes to Tianiha from Shiyi realm, while the second place goes to Guanyuan Palace's Nianyan. At this point, Shen Mo subconsciously paused for a moment. In fact, it wasn't that there weren't any sects that participated in the competition, but they were all from some top-notch and powerful sections. He had never heard of this Guanyuan Palace. Ning Cheng had heard Nianyan mention her origin, Guanyuan Palace. He also knew Tianiha, but he didn't expect that this creation realm expert from Shiyi realm was also a talisman Dao Grandmaster. The third place goes to Heavenly Talisman Stars Dao Lord Burning Talisman. Even Shen Mo felt that this name was a bit strange. A talisman Dao Grandmaster who refined talismans named himself Dao Lord Burning Talisman. Nianyan whispered in Ning Cheng's ear, I'm even more certain that this person is Gu Baoshan. He is very unhappy with Fu Lai. He thinks that Fu Lai doesn't live up to his name, and that the strongest talisman Dao expert should be him, Gu Baoshan. However, the truth is that Gu Baoshan doesn't have any color under Fu Lai's radiance. He named himself Burning Talisman. This talisman isn't an ordinary talisman, but Fu Lai's talisman. This person is a peerless expert. I really don't know how he survived the first creation war. Hearing Nianyan's words, Ning Cheng looked at Dao Lord Burning Talisman in the distance and said softly. Nianyan also said in agreement, yes, I know from the things that Fu Lai left behind that the first creation war was extremely tragic. Even a peerless expert like Fu Lai couldn't escape. This Gu Baoshan seems to be very strong. Could it be that he has a way to avoid participating in the first creation war? Nianyan's words came to an abrupt end when she saw Dao Lord Burning Talisman walking towards her and Ning Cheng. Burning Talisman stopped in front of Ning Cheng and Nianyan, then looked at the two of them from head to toe. Then, he looked at Nianyan and said, if I'm not wrong, you should have inherited your talisman refining technique from the unworthy Fu Lai, right? Nianyan said in a neither haughty nor humble manner, it's my own business who I inherited it from. Senior Fu Lai was able to traverse the universe for countless years and leave behind an illustrious name for himself. There's naturally a reason for that. Living in this vast universe, under the impact of the rolling years, only those huge stones can leave traces. Some small gravel will eventually be drowned by the waves of time. In any case, Nianyan's inheritance came from Fu Lai, so she naturally wouldn't say anything bad about Fu Lai. Burning Talisman snorted coldly, and a powerful aura suddenly rose, pressing down on Nianyan and Ning Cheng. Chapter 1354. Ning Cheng took half a step forward as his Dao rune aura swept up and blasted at Burning Fu without any scruples. Bam! The dull Dao rune exploded and overflowed, setting off a violent aura. This guy was no weaker than Xing Shi. This was Ning Cheng's first thought. Burning Fu also looked at Ning Cheng in shock. Ning Cheng was only at the early stage Dao integration realm, but his strength was so terrifying. Although he was sure that Ning Cheng had not hidden his cultivation level, he also suspected that Ning Cheng had done so. The huge impact caused by the collision of their Dao runes immediately alarmed the surrounding people. When everyone's eyes gathered, Burning Fu snorted and didn't continue to cause trouble for Ning Cheng and Nianyan. Instead, he turned around and left. He had come here late for the same reason as everyone else. It was because of the birth of the good fortune indestructible axe. Unlike ordinary people, Burning Fu had guessed that the second creation war was coming after hearing about the good fortune indestructible axe. After coming to heavens beyond, he had also heard that Ning Cheng and Yi Mo were very strong, but he hadn't seen them fight. To him, after the first creation war, pseudo-realms and pseudo-Daos were everywhere. Ning Cheng and Yi Mo were very strong, but he really didn't take them seriously. This time, he had a silent fight with Ning Cheng, which made him vigilant. Ning Cheng was indeed very strong, and those pseudo-Daos couldn't compare to him. Although he didn't continue to fight, he remembered Ning Cheng. If Burning Fu continued to fight with Ning Cheng, Dao Lord Mountain Gaze and the others would definitely help Ning Cheng. Now that Burning Fu didn't fight, no one would say anything about what happened just now. After Shen Mo announced the top 3 of the rune battle, the battle formation battle began. Mir, one of the 3 essence realm, was in charge of the battle formation. She was at the Unity realm. Ever since Yi Mo killed Mu Qiangjue of the Heavens Beyond realm, she had been extremely low-key. Mi Wan landed on the competition platform and nodded at Ning Cheng before saying, "Fellow Taoists, I'll be presiding over the 4th round of the Heavens Beyond Realm Division competition. There are a total of 831 Taoists participating in the battle formation battle. The rules are very simple. We'll set up a trap killing array this time. Whoever walks out of the trap killing array first will be first. The killing power of this trap and kill array is very strong, and it is very likely that you will die in it. If you don't want to participate, you can withdraw now." Just when everyone felt that the rules of the competition were very simple, Miruan spoke up once again, "Remember, there is another more important rule of the battle array, that is, any participant in the trap killing array can use their array Dao to attack. As long as you can trap your opponent with your array formation, you can walk out of the trap and kill array first, you will also be the winner. You must use formation Dao methods. If you use other methods, you will be expelled from the competition and lose your qualifications." Miruan said it very casually. Everyone knew that this rule was not only simple, but it was also bloody. Under these rules, it was normal to be killed during a battle. Previously, everyone thought that there would only be killing when it was time for a battle of magical powers. They didn't expect that even before a battle of magical powers, there would be killing in a battle of formations. This was the same as the first round of the slaughter pill battle. The only difference was that the slaughter pills on the stage were replaced with people. Ning Cheng couldn't help but sigh in his heart. Although he did not set the rules of the competition, he could see from the rules of the competition that life was the least valuable in the eyes of these starry sky cultivators. Only strength could bring dignity, and only strength could win respect. Fortunately, he did not sign up for the battle array. Ning Cheng didn't like this kind of meaningless killing in the competition. If it was for a territory, then his points were more than enough to get a piece of it. The trap and kill array on the battle stage had already been set up. All the participants knew that the real threat to them was not the trap and kill array, but the array Dao powerhouses participating in the battle array. After everyone stood on the battle stage, Miruan raised the array flag in her hand and spoke, "The battle array competition starts now." After saying this, Miruan directly dropped the array flag in her hand. After Miruan dropped the array flag, the entire battle stage immediately filled with a trap and kill aura. At this moment, not only could the participants not see the scene outside the battle stage, but even the spectators could not see the scene inside the battle stage. In just half an incense stick worth of time, the trap and kill aura on the battle stage grew even more intense. Dao charm explosions and law collisions continuously overflowed from the trap and kill array. However, these fluctuations were all blocked by the array formations set up by the 7 powerful judges and could not overflow. Half an hour later, not only did no one come out of the trap and kill array in the middle of the battle stage, but even a bloody mist burst out from the middle. Everyone sighed, this dish truly was a real trap and kill array. The trap and kill array itself was not difficult to open. What was difficult was that everyone participating in the battle array wanted to be the first to come out of the trap and kill array. If the trap and kill array only had one exit, then the person who wanted to come out of the exit would have to kill the person competing with him or block the exit. Bang! Bang! 2 participants covered in blood were thrown out of the trap and kill array. Everyone knew that it was not the 2 of them who won the first and second place. Instead, the 2 of them had violated the rules when others attacked them with their Tao of array formations and used spirit techniques or weapons to resist. Ning Qing did not think that this was a bad thing. At least there was a way to escape from the trap and kill array if they could not stay in it. A few more people were thrown out. Ning Qing did not continue to watch the battle but looked at Burning Talisman who was walking towards him warily. Burning Talisman did not talk much after exchanging blows with him. What did this guy mean by looking for him again at this time? Ning Qing also knew that he was not Burning Talisman's opponent. However, this was heavens beyond, so he was not afraid of this guy. Taoist Ning, if you don't mind, we can find a place to sit down. To Ning Cheng's surprise, Burning Talisman did not make a move this time. Instead, he spoke to Ning Cheng warmly, which was completely different from his previous attitude when he left. Taoist Gu, if you have anything to say, just say it here. I believe that no unrelated people will hear it. While speaking, Ning Cheng raised his hand and drew a soundproof restriction. You really know who I am. Burning Talisman glanced at Nian next to Ning Cheng in surprise as he spoke. Obviously, he had also guessed that Ning Cheng knew who he was not because Ning Cheng knew him, but because Nian, who was next to Ning Cheng, knew him. Seeing that Ning Cheng did not answer him, Burning Talisman pointed at Nian and said, "Let her go out through the soundproof restriction. I have something to talk to you about alone." When Ning Cheng had set up the soundproof restriction just now, he had also isolated Nian. Ning Cheng smiled slightly. Nian is my friend. There is nothing worth hiding from her about the matter between you and me. If Taoist Gu is willing to say it, please say it. If not, I'm sorry that I can't accompany you. Although Ning Cheng's tone did not sound strong, his words obviously did not allow Burning Talisman to question him. When Burning Talisman heard Ning Cheng's words, he did not seem to care and did not ask Nian to go out. Instead, he said directly, Taoist Ning can call me Burning Talisman in the future. I have long forgotten my original name. If I'm not wrong, Taoist Ning should have a big opportunity. Otherwise, you would not have been able to clash with my aura at the Tao integration realm. Ning Cheng suddenly frowned and said in a stiff tone, Taoist Ran, whether I have a chance or not is my own business. The way you speak makes people dislike you. Just like Taoist Ran, if you did not have a chance, would you have been able to refine a talisman that could trigger the rumbling of the laws of heaven and earth in such a short time? When Burning Talisman heard Ning Cheng's words, he smiled proudly. The reason why I can refine talismans that can trigger the rumbling of the laws of heaven and earth is not because of any external force or opportunity, but because of my incomparable perception and aptitude. Of course, that's why everyone in the universe knows about your talisman refining skills. Ning Cheng said sarcastically. Contrary to Ning Cheng's expectations, Burning Talisman did not refute Ning Cheng's sarcasm. Instead, he was at a loss for a moment before changing the topic. Taoist Ning, if I'm not wrong, at your level, you should know that the second creation war is coming, right? Maybe you don't care about it and think that the creation war is still far away from you. But let me tell you, with your current strength, once the gate of good fortune opens and the creation war begins, the vast Tao charm that would rush out of the gate of good fortune would forcefully push you to the creation realm. This time, Ning Cheng did not ridicule Burning Talisman. He felt that Burning Talisman was right. With his understanding of the creation war and the gate of good fortune, this was indeed a possibility. Fortunately, he still had a few fragments of the good fortune indestructible axe on him. As long as he did not take them out, the gate of good fortune would not open. Burning Talisman saw that Ning Cheng seemed to be listening to his words and spoke up with even more enthusiasm. Do you know what a talisman powerhouse means in the creation war? I can tell you the truth. Without Fu Lai, at least 3 more powerhouses would have died that year. Although Fu Lai has a good aptitude in refining talismans, it's a pity that he chose to rely on the wrong person. Ning Qing understood burning talisman's meaning. If Xiao Xinshi came to rely on him and hold on to his leg, then this burning talisman wanted to cooperate with him. Since it was a cooperation, then he would not position himself as a superior and subordinate. If only the first person to enter the gate of good fortune would become the winner of the supremacy position, then burning talisman would look for him to cooperate with him. Even if he killed all his competitors, the moment he entered the gate of good fortune, he would not be able to escape this person's murderous hands. As if seeing Ning Cheng's meaning, burning talisman suddenly spoke up, "You don't have to worry about me competing with you for the first position. At least, I won't compete with you until I kill all my opponents. I also know that I'm not qualified to get the first position. I just want to get the position that belongs to me. If you agree to cooperate, I will introduce you to a place. With your qualifications and opportunities, I believe that in less than 1,000 years, you can step into the third step and successfully create a world there. But I want to remind you that successfully creating a world on your own and forcibly pushing your strength to the third step after the gate of good fortune opens are two completely different things. One lives, the other dies." The first person came out. Ning Cheng was still thinking about burning talisman's words when a burst of cheers erupted. Apparently, the winner of the battle array competition had come out. Chapter 1355. Ning Cheng's gaze also fell onto the battle platform. The man who came out was dressed in white, had a handsome appearance, and did not have even a single speck of dust on his body. It was the complete opposite of those participants who had been thrown out by the trap and kill array and were covered in blood. This is a powerhouse. When I participated in the first Good Fortune War, I felt this kind of aura from many powerhouses. Burning Talisman, who stood next to Ning Cheng, suddenly spoke up. How is his strength compared to yours? Ning Cheng looked at the man in white and suddenly thought of someone. It was the Hall Master of the Seven Deities Hall, Mo Gu, whom he had killed back then. Whether it was his mannerisms, demeanor, or arrogant gaze, this person was somewhat similar to Mo Gu. Ning Cheng knew that the other party was definitely not Mo Gu. He had personally killed Mo Gu, so he would never appear here. Moreover, Moge's strength was definitely not as strong as this white-robed man. Mo Gu was at most a half-step creation realm, while this person's strength probably far exceeded the creation realm. Burning Talisman said indifferently, his strength is naturally inferior to mine, but his array Dao is extraordinary. When the creation war begins in the future, I reckon that he will cause you some trouble. Burning Talisman's understanding of Ning Cheng was only limited to rumors. He didn't know much about Ning Cheng's Dao of arrays. When he spoke up to hear, Burning Talisman suddenly chuckled. Moreover, he's extremely ruthless, and the lives of others are probably even inferior to ants to him. Ning Cheng understood the meaning of the Burning Talisman, as he looked at the Burning Talisman in disbelief. No matter what, cultivating the Tao was also cultivating the mind. Killing was only done as a last resort or when someone offended you. If it was as Burning Talisman said, then it was simply unreasonable. Burning Talisman knew that Ning Cheng understood his meaning and spoke up in a calm voice. This person's attainments in the Tao of arrays completely surpassed the entrapment and killing arrays arranged by the judges. Moreover, none of the participants within the entrapment and killing arrays could affect him in the slightest. The reason why he didn't come out until now was because he wanted to kill someone in the trap and kill array. If my guess is correct, after this person comes out, the second and third place will come out in less than an hour. When the competition ended, the number of people participating in the battle array would probably be reduced by at least half. Most of the missing people were killed by this person. As soon as Burning Talisman's voice fell, another two people rushed out of the stage's trap and kill array. Even though the two of them had charged out with their own strength, the Dao runes on their bodies were somewhat scattered. There were also traces of blood qi around them. It could be seen that Burning Talisman's guess was not wrong at all. Ning Cheng took a deep breath, as his eyes once again fell on the white-robed man who was the first to come out. The white-robed man had his hands behind his back, and his eyes were calm, as if he had not experienced anything at all. The two men who came out from behind also looked at the man in white with some fear and walked a little further away. The fourth round of the battle arrays competition has ended. After the top three were decided, Mirwan quickly threw out the array flags and announced. Obviously, she also knew that something had gone wrong in this competition because of the man in white. Since it was a battle formation, damage was inevitable. Just like that white-clothed man who treated killing as a hobby, it was simply infuriating. The trap and kill array on the stage was removed, leaving only a few hundred contestants in a daze. The number of people alive was not more than half of what Burning Talisman had guessed, but less than half. Everyone was silent when they saw this. As a cultivator, they were already indifferent to life and death. But in this short period of time, there were less than 400 people left out of the 800 people. This was simply a slaughterhouse. Those who did not participate in the competition also felt a sense of sorrow. If they had lost in the battle array, it would have been fine if they were trapped and killed. However, they did not lose in the battle array, but to be killed by a person who took pleasure in killing. This beast's murderous nature is too heavy. It's simply killing for the sake of killing. With his murderous nature, he can't step into the gate of good fortune. Xiao Xinshi stared at the man in white standing in the middle of the battle stage and spoke with disdain. Maybe he can't step into the gate of good fortune, but with his strength in the Tao of Arrays, he can play a big role in the great war of good fortune. Burning Talisman retorted. Ning Qing suddenly had a feeling in his heart that this man in white really had a heavy murderous nature. There seemed to be a little unreasonable reason for him to kill people. This person also has a purpose for killing people. He blocked the exit of the trap and kill array. He thinks that the first contestants to reach the exit are the ones who might stand out in the Tao of Arrays. In order to reduce the number of people who might pose a threat to him in the Tao of Arrays in the future, he wantonly killed those experts in the Tao of Arrays. The few people who were teleported out of the trap and kill array probably used some special means and had better luck. Nian spoke up from the side. She spoke out Ning Cheng's thoughts. Ao can sucked in a breath of cold air. There are so many experts in the Tao of Arrays in the world. Can he kill them all by himself? Maybe for him, killing one is one less. Nian finished speaking and subconsciously glanced at Burning Talisman standing on the side. Burning Talisman frowned and said, "What are you looking at me for? No one can match my talisman Tao. Even if more talisman experts come out, I don't think that they can surpass me and kill them. If I don't have confidence in myself, why would I do such a thing?" In this world, the strong were respected, not to mention in the battle array. Before the battle array, the rules were also announced that one was responsible for one's own life and death. Now, no matter how many experts in the Tao of Arrays fell, no one would dare to stand up and say anything. Mirwan seemed to be in a hurry to end the battle array. She quickly stood on the battle stage and announced, "The fourth round of battle array ends here. Now, I will announce the rankings. The third place goes to Zhuo Feng of the Seven Aqua Realm and the second place goes to Jia Muyu of the Degree Desert Realm. The first place goes to Mo Zhou of the Seven Deities Temple. Congratulations to the three Taoists." Ning Cheng's heart sank. Seven Deities Temple. That was not a sect in the Great Change Realm. He had killed the Lord Temple Master of the Seven Deities Temple, Mo Gu, and the Seven Deities Temple had long been annihilated. Why did another Seven Deities Temple appear in the heavens beyond of heaven and earth? Moreover, Mo Zhou and Mo Gu were so similar. If Mo Zhou had not been far stronger than Mo Gu, Ning Cheng would have thought that Mo Gu had not been killed. Instead, his principal spirit had escaped and then found someone to possess him. In fact, Ning Cheng knew that this was absolutely impossible. The Tao of Arrays was not something that could be improved through possession. Perhaps Mo Zhou was from Mo Ge's clan. Ning Cheng did not know if this guy knew that he had killed Mo Gu. However, from the beginning until now, this guy had not looked at Ning Cheng, so he probably did not know. No. Ning Cheng suddenly thought that if this person did not know Mo Gu, then how did the name Seven Deities Temple come about? Unless the Mo family was the Seven Deities Temple and the Great Change Realm's Seven Deities Temple was a knockoff of Mo Gu. As Mi Ruan announced the end of the fourth round of the competition, the most important round of the realm division began, the Battle of Magical Powers. Before the start of the battle array competition, not many people would care even if they knew that the Battle of Magical Powers was the one with the most casualties. However, more than half of them had died in the battle array competition, which cast a shadow over the participants of the Battle of Magical Powers. This time, Dao Lord Mountain Gazing personally came to the middle of the competition platform. His gaze swept across Mo Zhou vaguely before he said in a loud and clear voice, "Fellow Taoists, there is still one last round of the Heavens Beyond Realm competition left, which is a battle of magical powers. I am Mountain Gaze from the Heavenly Gate Realm. This time, I will be presided over by Taoist Feng Huangmei from the Jiao Yang Realm and Taoist Liao Qianluo from the Nine Heavens Realm. Now, Taoist Liao will announce the rules of the competition." Liao Qianluo took a few steps to Dao Lord Mountain Gaze's side and said with cupped fists, "Fellow Taoists, the division of the Heavens Beyond Realm this time is not only a competition but also a grand event. This grand event allows fellow Taoists from various realms to gather in the heavens beyond and allows us to see more experts from all sides. The rules of the Battle of Magical Powers are slightly more than the other competitions. There are a total of 5 rounds, and the first round is the Heaven Gate Thunder Tower." When Liao Qianluo mentioned the Heaven Gate Thunder Tower, there were immediately some discussions below the competition platform. Some participants even looked worried. Ning Cheng wanted to participate in the Battle of Magical Powers, so he was naturally more concerned about the rules. Just as he was about to ask what the Heaven Gate Thunder Tower was, Ao Kan explained, "Big brother, the Heaven Gate Thunder Tower is one of the most terrifying training grounds in the Heaven's Gate realm. It is also a top-notch Dharma treasure and has a total of 36 floors. I didn't expect Dao Lord Mountain Gaze to bring this thing here as the first round of the Battle of Magical Powers. Although I have never entered this Thunder Tower, I know that there are all kinds of nomological divine thunder inside. There are even 5 elemental nomological thunder strikes. There are also some thunder strikes that go beyond the laws and are extremely strange. Those who enter the training grounds have to quickly exit when they can't hold on anymore. Otherwise, they will definitely die inside. In any case, the death rate of coming out of the Heaven Gate Thunder Tower will not be as high as the Battle of Magical Powers." Ning Cheng had a general impression that he had a thunder-attributed spiritual root and cultivated a thunder-attributed spirit technique. Presumably, there shouldn't be any problems passing through the Thunder Tower. Since Dao Lord Mountain Gaze took out the Heaven Gate Thunder Tower, it should be because he didn't want to cause a large-scale massacre. Liao Qianluo waited for the discussion to die down before speaking. "Many people know that the Heaven Gate Thunder Tower has a total of 36 floors. As long as you reach the 9th floor and above, you can choose to quit at any time if you can't hold on. But below the 9th floor, there is no way to quit. If you can't rush through, only death awaits you. If you don't want to take the risk, you can quit. The first round of the Heaven Gate Thunder Tower will select the top 10. These 10 people will proceed to the second round based on their ranking. The first place will fight against the 10th place, and the second place will fight against the 9th place. Finally, the top 5 will be decided. The top 5 in the third round will draw lots according to the rules. One of them will directly enter the top 3. The other 4 will fight in pairs, and the winner will enter the top 3. The top 3 in the fourth round will draw lots again, and the one who gets a bye will advance to the top 2. The last 2 will fight, and the winner and the one who gets a bye will compete for the first place. The loser will advance to the third place. Clearly, the rules of the tournament were still for the sake of a quick battle. There was no fairness at all. If one was lucky, maybe they could enter the top 2 as long as they participated in one fight. No one had any objections to the rules of the tournament. After Liao Qianluo finished speaking, Dao Lord Mountain Gaze directly brought out a tower. The tower fell in the middle of the battle platform and instantly grew to a height of dozens of feet. It almost occupied the entire battle platform. The Dao charm of the tower flowed around it, and all kinds of law attributes fluctuated. Spiritual consciousness couldn't penetrate it at all. There are 1,321 participants in this tournament. All participants, please enter the Heaven Gate Thunder Tower. The tournament will now begin. After Tao Lord Mountain Gaze brought out the Thunder Tower, Liao Qianluo announced the start of the tournament. Of the 5 rounds, the tournament had the most participants. From this, it could be seen that most Starry Sky cultivators had strong confidence in their spirit techniques. Chapter 1356. Many of the participants flew up the stage and quickly rushed into the Sky Gate Lightning Pagoda. Even though being the first to enter the Heaven Gate Lightning Tower and being the last to enter the Heaven Gate Lightning Tower didn't seem to make much of a difference. However, everyone knew that the dangers in the Heaven Gate Lightning Tower were not limited to the lightning arcs of the laws of the tower. What was even more dangerous was the human element. Indeed, after entering the Sky Gate Lightning Pagoda, as long as one charged to the 10th level, they would be able to teleport out at any time. However, this was something that happened after the 9th floor. There was no such opportunity in the previous 9 floors. After experiencing the battle formation, who knew if there would be such a pervert in the Sky Gate Thunder Pagoda who would kill for no reason? The further they went into the tower, the fewer people they would encounter, and the safer they would be. Moreover, many people saw that Mo Zhou, who had won first place in the 4th round of the battle array, had also stepped onto the stage. In other words, he was also going to participate in the 5th round of the battle. Although no one said anything, every participant here was a shrewd person. They had long suspected that Mo Zhou was wantonly killing in the battle formation. Ning Qing didn't rush into the Thunder Tower. When he landed on the battle platform, he saw Mo Zhou also coming up. Mo Zhou looked at the many contestants entering the Heaven Gate Thunder Tower but did not rush in. Instead, he stopped and suddenly looked at Ning Qing with a smile. Do you think I'll kill a lot of people later? When the Thunder Tower teleports these people out, wouldn't it be less than half of them? Mo Zhou not only smiled at Ning Qing but also stopped and said something inexplicable to Ning Qing. Ning Qing spoke up in a calm voice, in the vast universe, powerhouses are like carps crossing the river. I'm afraid you won't be able to kill so many of them by yourself. Mo Zhou chuckled and didn't care about Ning Qing's cold tone. Instead, he continued, that's why I want to invite you to cooperate. Among all these people, you are the most pleasing to the eye. I have to thank you. You are a good person. Ning Qing frowned slightly. He didn't understand what Mo Zhou meant. This fellow spoke in a strange tone, which made him feel very uncomfortable. As Mo Zhou spoke until here, he suddenly moved closer to Ning Qing. Do you know how attractive that woman named Zhu Yinghua is? I loved every part of her body. If you hadn't killed that idiot Mo Gu, how could I have such a woman? Sigh, you're too generous. You didn't keep this kind of woman for yourself, but gave her to me instead. So, shouldn't I be thanking you? Ning Chang's eyes suddenly turned cold. Zhu Yinghua's hatred towards him before she left was enough to form a death grudge between them. What puzzled Ning Cheng was that, according to Zhu Yinghua's performance at that time, she should have had deep feelings for Mo Gu. In that case, how could she run to Mo Zhou's bed? Are you from the same family as that Mo Gu? Ning Cheng's heart was filled with disgust. The reason why he asked this question was for his own good. He had no idea how strong the Mo family was. If it was too strong, he had to be prepared. Mo Zhou arrogantly looked at the competitors rushing into the Heaven Gate Lightning Pagoda and muttered, a bunch of pigs. After muttering this sentence, he looked at Ning Cheng and said, that Mo Gu can be considered as my nephew. In this fight, I want to kill someone. However, this guy is very slippery. I might not be able to kill him alone. So, as long as you help, not only will the Mo family not know that you killed Mo Gu, but I can also let you enjoy Zhu Yinghua. Although Ning Cheng was very unhappy with Mo Gu, Mo Zhou was even more disgusting. Mo Gu was very protective of his woman and cared about her with his life. As for this Mo Zhou, he was worse than a beast. Get lost. Ning Cheng spat. He was too lazy to look at Mo Zhou again. He turned around and walked towards the Heaven Gate Lightning Pagoda. Even though Ning Cheng had turned around, he gathered all his Dao charm aura on the creation divine spear. As long as Mo Zhou dared to attack him from behind, he would use all his strength to kill this person on the competition stage. What Ning Cheng didn't expect was that not only did Mo Zhou not attack, but he also smiled faintly and followed Ning Cheng towards the Heaven Gate Lightning Pagoda without saying a word. Ning Cheng became even more cautious. Dogs that bite don't bark. This person probably wanted to wait for him to enter the Heaven Gate Lightning Pagoda before making a move. Ning Cheng was the second to last contestant to enter the Heaven Gate Lightning Pagoda, while killing frenzied demon Mo Zhou was the last contestant to enter the Heaven Gate Lightning Pagoda. When Mo Zhou entered the Heaven Gate Lightning Pagoda, the Heaven Gate Lightning Pagoda emitted bursts of thunder. Then, the entrance to the first floor of the Heaven Gate Lightning Pagoda slowly disappeared. Thunder light lingered around the Heaven Gate Lightning Pagoda, forming a thunder curtain. As soon as Ning Cheng entered the Heaven Gate Lightning Pagoda, endless thunder arcs bombarded him. However, these thunder arcs only had the strength of ordinary Dao sculpting cultivators. With Ning Cheng's cultivation and body tempering strength, these thunder arcs had no effect on Ning Cheng's body. The first floor of the Heaven Gate Lightning Pagoda looked very vast. At least, Ning Cheng's spiritual consciousness couldn't touch the edge. He also couldn't know where the stairs leading from the first floor to the second floor were. Ning Cheng wasn't in a hurry to find the entrance to the second floor. He stopped and looked at the entrance to the first floor of the Heaven Gate Lightning Pagoda. He was sure that Mo Zhou wanted to attack him. Since he wanted to attack, then he would fight to his heart's content on the first floor. At this moment, no cultivators appeared in the range of his spiritual consciousness. In just 2 breaths, Ning Cheng raised his hand and threw out thousands of array flags. I'll give you a chance. Die or work for me. Ning Cheng had just thrown out the array flags when Mo Zhou's voice fell in his ear. It didn't even take 3 breaths of time. But at this time, Mo Zhou's voice no longer had the same casual and warm tone as before. Instead, it carried a cold murderous intent. At the same time, Ning Cheng felt subtle fluctuations in the surrounding space. If it were an ordinary person, they would have thought that it was caused by Mo Zhou's killing intent fluctuations. Ning Cheng knew very well that this wasn't a killing intent fluctuation, but an array formation fluctuation. Moreover, it was a void killing array. Although Mo Zhou hadn't started yet, he had already secretly arranged a killing array. This fellow could silently arrange a killing array through space. From this, it could be seen that this fellow's Dao of arrays wasn't far from his. Ning Cheng raised his hand, and the good fortune divine spear appeared in his hand. Don't talk nonsense. Eat this father's spear first. The good fortune divine spear rolled up a spear pattern that completely enveloped Mo Zhou in the spear pattern space. A trace of sarcasm appeared on Mo Zhou's face as he said calmly, courting death. After he said that, a dazzling multicolored light flashed out. Following this multicolored light was a huge luxurious and beautiful chariot. Ning Cheng was very familiar with this chariot. It was Mo Zhi's Dharma treasure. Zhu Yinghua was really shameless. She was Mo Zhi's woman and had said that she wanted to take revenge on him. Not only had she betrayed Mo Gu, but she had also given Mo Zhi's Dharma treasure to Mo Zhou. Mo Gu had used this chariot to simulate a false realm and had almost killed him. At that time, if he hadn't had the 5-colored star splitter arrow, Mo Gu would have escaped. Even so, he had been poisoned in the end. The current Mo Zhou obviously didn't need to use the chariot to simulate a false realm. Mo Zhou himself was a third-step expert. His domain was a realm. As long as he was not careful, he would be drawn into Mo Zhou's realm. Ning Cheng was extremely careful when fighting third-step experts, regardless of whether the other party was a true realm or a false realm. After fighting with Mo Gu, he had never fallen into the other party's realm because of this caution. Once he fell into the other party's realm, it was not up to him whether he could come out or not. The chariot didn't turn into a realm. Instead, it turned into an earth-shattering Dao rune blade flare and spatial binding force that blasted towards Ning Cheng. Ning Qing knew very well that this chariot's attack was probably not even 1/10 of Mo Zhou's attack. This was because this chariot didn't belong to Mo Zhou, who definitely had his own Dharma treasure. What's more, Mo Zhou had just quietly set up a void-killing array. Why would he rely on this chariot to deal with him? Sure enough, as the spatial binding force and the endless Dao rune blade flare swept over, the spatial laws around Ning Qing instantly changed. Void cracks and spatial dislocations appeared in front of Ning Qing. Even with Ning Qing's spiritual consciousness, he knew that this was definitely not an illusion. In Ning Qing's opinion, with Mo Zhou's strength, he probably didn't have the strength to create spatial dislocations and cracks in the Heaven Gate Thunder Pagoda. These spatial killing intents were the void-killing array that Mo Zhou had just set up. Once he was drawn into these cracks, it was very likely that Mo Zhou would take him into his spatial Dharma treasure. Within these endless spatial cracks, Mo Zhou's sneer rang out. A black and white spear light directly passed through the endless killing blades and spatial cracks and rushed towards Ning Qing. This was his killer move. Ning Qing snorted but didn't take half a step back. Instead, he took a step forward. Almost at the same time that Mo Zhou attacked, Ning Qing stepped into the void that had begun to crack. The next moment, the surrounding space changed again, and the endless spatial cracks and displacements that swept towards Ning Qing suddenly slowed down without any limit. When Mo Zhou brought out the black and white spear light, Ning Qing waved his left hand, and an orange stone bridge appeared in the air. Dao runes surged over the stone bridge. It was old and rusty, and there was a huge millstone under the stone bridge. When the black and white spear light turned into endless killing intent and shot towards Ning Qing, the millstone suddenly soared into the sky and wrapped around the endless killing intent. Ning Qing once again stepped into the void, stepped on the huge black millstone, and pointed out with a finger. The law-breaking finger broke through the void and destroyed everything. The moment Ning Qing stepped into the crack in the void, Mo Zhou immediately had a bad feeling. With Ning Qing's reputation, he shouldn't have taken the initiative to rush into the crack of his void strangulation array. The only reason why Ning Qing did this was that Ning Qing didn't fear his void strangulation array. Just as he expected, his void strangulation array seemed to be confined by space. This was definitely a trapping array that was even more advanced than his void strangulation array. Was Ning Qing an array Dao expert? Did he arrange a trapping array 3 breaths before he came here? After Mo Zhou understood this, his heart sank. He didn't expect that Ning Qing's array Dao was stronger than his, but he didn't participate in the battle array. The 5th reincarnation bridge. If Ning Qing's spatial imprisonment trapping array made his heart sink, then when Ning Qing brought out the reincarnation bridge, the shadow in his heart grew even bigger. At this moment, Ning Qing's law-breaking finger shot out after his yin-yang black and white spear light. Chapter 1357. Mo Zhou had killed countless people and experienced countless battles and crises. If he didn't care about Ning Qing's spear light ripples before, then when Ning Qing's entrapment formation and the 5th reincarnation bridge appeared, he already had a bad feeling in his heart. This was a kind of intuition formed from a long period of killing and battle. This kind of intuition of life and death had saved him many times. When Ning Qing brought out his law-breaking finger, he immediately understood that Ning Qing's strength wasn't any weaker than his own. The rumors about Ning Qing's strength were not exaggerated in the slightest, rather, there was even an element of reduction in his strength. Mo Zhou no longer wanted to use the yin-yang spear light to tear Ning Qing apart, nor did he expect his void trap and kill array to bind Ning Qing. The yin-yang spear light, at this moment, transformed into a huge Tai Chi yin-yang diagram, which stretched across the space between him and Ning Qing. At the same time, the chariot that had transformed into a boundless space of blade radiance turned into a shield. The black millstone of the Bridge of Rebirth rolled up and swept away the endless void cracks that had come to a standstill. The Dao runes of the black and white Taiji yin-yang diagram formed by Mo Zhou's yin-yang spear light were also frantically grinded away by the black millstone. Boom! The violent forces collided with each other. The Daoist rhymes exploded, and the lingering Daoist rhymes lingered in the air. The law-breaking finger easily tore apart the black and white Tai Yin-Yang diagram and blasted Mo Zhou's realm boundary, which had fused with the chariot. Kacha! The domain shattered, and a blood arrow exploded in the Tao runes of the collision between the two divine arts. In just a few breaths of time, the surroundings quietened down. Under the influence of the law-breaking finger, the laws of heaven and earth in the surroundings instantly weakened. The luxurious chariot lost control and fell to the ground, but Mo Zhou disappeared. In the space where the two of them were fighting, there was still a faint smell of blood. The battle between the two came quickly, but it ended even faster. Back then, Ning Cheng and Mo Ge had fought to the point of turning the sky dark. But now, it only took a few breaths of time for this Mo Zhou to end the fight. Ning Cheng raised his hand and put away the carriage, but did not feel much happiness. Mo Zhou's strength was similar to what he had imagined. In fact, he was not weaker than him at all. In fact, he was even slightly stronger than him. The reason he was able to injure Mo Zhou and flee in a sorry state, even abandoning his chariot Dharma treasure, was because he had the upper hand in every aspect. His trump card to defeat Mo Zhou was not the order-breaking finger, but his confinement array. His array Dao was stronger than Mo Zhou's. He had set up a trap array here in advance. This was his trump card. This was because this confinement formation restricted Mo Zhou's ability to attack. From the moment Mo Zhou used the void-killing array to deal with him, Mo Zhou was already at a disadvantage. Even with the confinement array, the fifth reincarnation bridge, the traceless spear pattern, and the order-breaking finger that had been set up in advance, Missouri Zhou was only injured and fled after abandoning his chariot. It could be seen that if he fought with Mo Zhou without any fancy moves, he would not have much of an advantage. The fact that he was proficient in array formations had already been exposed. The next time he faced Mo Zhou, this guy would probably be wary of him. The fight between the two of them had yet to truly end. In fact, it had just begun. On the second floor of the Heaven Gate Lightning Tower, the white-robed Mo Zhou's face was a little pale. His pure white clothes were also splattered with blood. This made his expression even more gloomy, and his eyes became even crazier because of this. Since his debut, he had experienced countless killings, and the number of people who had died at his hands was innumerable. But he did not expect that he would eat such a big loss in front of Ning Cheng today. If he hadn't used a forbidden technique to escape, he might have lost his life here today. As for losing his chariot, it was simply a stroke of luck. Although Ning Cheng was on the list of people he had to kill, he now not only wanted to kill Ning Cheng, but he also wanted to torture him to death. If he didn't do this, he wouldn't be able to resolve the hatred in his heart. He also knew why he lost in front of Ning Cheng today. It wasn't that his strength was far inferior to Ning Cheng's. Instead, it was that he had miscalculated the effect of his void-killing array and Ning Cheng's array Dao strength. In his opinion, if Ning Cheng's array Dao really had a few tricks up his sleeve, then he would definitely participate in the fourth round, battle arrays. Entering the fourth round was a competition, and no one would dislike having fewer points. He didn't expect Ning Cheng to hide so deeply. Even though his array Dao was extremely powerful, he still didn't participate in the fourth round, battle arrays. This person knew that he would attack him, so he deliberately hid his array Dao to deal with him. I will kill you slowly. Mo Zhou looked back at the entrance to the second floor of the Heaven Gate Lightning Tower again before quickly turning and leaving. Although he couldn't use his spiritual consciousness to scan the entrance to the upper floor of the Heaven Gate Lightning Tower, there was a very obvious sign. That was, the place where the lightning arcs were denser was the entrance to the upper floor. Although he knew that it would be difficult to kill Mo Zhou here, Ning Cheng still quickly rushed to the second floor of the Heaven Gate Lightning Tower. If Mo Zhou didn't kill him, then the threat would be too great. The lightning arcs on the second floor were much stronger than the first, but it still didn't have any use for Ning Cheng. Not only could these lightning arcs not cause any harm to him, but it also didn't make much sense for him to absorb the thunder source. Ning Cheng didn't see many people on the second floor. Obviously, those who could participate in the battle weren't simple people. The lightning arcs on the first and second floor couldn't stop anyone at all. Third floor, fourth floor, Ning Qing reached the seventh floor in a very short time. The lightning arcs on the seventh floor already had a certain amount of power. White lightning arcs as thick as a baby's wrist descended, bringing with them a strong water-attributed aura. If the level of protection was slightly weaker, then even a Tao Essence Holy Emperor would be instantly killed. When these lightning arcs fell on Ning Qing could clearly feel the fluctuations of the thunder source. In other words, if he was willing to spend a lot of time here to temper his body and cultivation, these lightning arcs would be of great use to him. On this floor, there were already a few contestants who found it difficult to walk. Most of these people had taken out their defensive Dharma treasures, and every step they took required a lot of energy. Ning Qing sighed. Some of the people here would definitely be killed by the lightning arcs here. In the first 9 floors of the Heaven Gate Lightning Tower, even if they couldn't pass, they wouldn't be teleported out. This was the cruelty of cultivation. Few people who entered the Heaven Gate Lightning Tower were below Primordial Chaos. Most of them were Primordial Chaos Holy Emperors, and some were even Tao Integration Holy Emperors. Unfortunately, their cultivation techniques were related to their own attributes, so their resistance to lightning arcs was relatively weak. The reason why some people were trapped on the 7th floor was because they were too confident in their own strength. He was sure that none of the Primordial Chaos or Tao Integration Holy Emperors trapped here were from the Heaven Gate realm. The people from the Heaven Gate realm knew how powerful the Heaven Gate Lightning Tower was. They would rather miss the competition than come here to challenge the Heaven Gate Lightning Tower. Ning Qing didn't care about these people. Instead, he sped up and rushed to the entrance of the 8th floor, which was filled with lightning arcs. Since he had chosen to enter the Heaven Gate Lightning Tower to participate in the battle, he had to be prepared to die. At this moment, the most important thing for him was to stop Mo Zhou. He wasn't afraid of Mo Zhou massacring everyone here, but he wanted to kill Mo Zhou here. If he used 6 of the 7 bridges, coupled with his order-breaking finger and 5-colored star splitter arrow, he would most likely be able to kill Mo Zhou. Mo Zhou was a dangerous person. He was a killing maniac, and now he had a feud with him. With Mo Zhou's strength, he could even kill the entire Grand Change Realm or Grand Essence Realm. The only way was to kill Mo Zhou first. If he couldn't kill Mo Zhou, he had to return to the Grand Essence Realm immediately to repair the Grand Essence Realm and upgrade the Realm Protection Grand Array again. Tao Lord Ning, please save my life. A clear and slightly frightened voice came, and Ning Qing subconsciously turned his head. He saw an ugly woman looking at him with longing in her eyes. This woman was at the middle stage Tao Integration Realm. Ning Qing could feel that she wasn't weak, but her cultivation method couldn't resist the water-attributed white lightning arcs, so she was trapped here. If he did not lend a hand, this woman might very well perish here sullenly. Do you know me? Ning Qing frowned and looked at the ugly woman. He had some impression of Tao Integration Holy Emperors as long as he had seen them before. He didn't have much impression of this woman, but he didn't doubt that she was lying. This woman did give him a sense of familiarity, but it was hard to explain. Tao Lord Ning is someone I admire. I've seen Tao Lord from afar once. At that time, Tao Lord also glanced at me, but I guess Tao Lord didn't care. The ugly woman barely resisted the lightning arcs while speaking with difficulty. Ning Qing didn't ask any more questions. He walked over and raised his hand. The Tao Rune domain instantly spread out. The protective domain blocked all the descending white lightning arcs, and in the blink of an eye, the woman was protected in his domain. Sensing that the endless lightning arcs had disappeared, the woman smiled at Ning Qing with a pale face and said gratefully, "Thank you, Tao Lord Ning. You don't have to thank me. I'll take you to the 10th floor. You can leave by yourself." Ning Qing waved his hand and quickly walked to the entrance of the 8th floor. The woman looked at Ning Cheng's back in front of her, and shock flashed in her eyes. Ning Cheng's cultivation was clearly lower than hers, but under the endless lightning arcs, he walked as if he was taking a stroll without any urgency. She also knew that the reason why she couldn't block the white lightning arcs on the 7th floor wasn't because she wasn't strong enough. It was because the white lightning arcs were water attributed, and one of her fire attributed divine abilities was at a critical moment. As a result, she was suppressed by the water attributed lightning arcs, which caused the circulation of her Tao runes to be blocked. Now that she was on the 8th floor, she would be fine if Ning Qing didn't protect her. Ning Qing didn't speak, even though he was walking extremely fast on the 8th floor full of lightning arcs. The woman clenched her fist, and a spark appeared in the palm of her hand. This was her most hidden spirit technique, and it cut through the sky. Her spark came from the mutation of the primal chaos fire seed. After the spark came out, it would turn into a very thin line of fire. This line of fire could even traverse the plane. As long as she brought out this spark, no matter how high Ning Cheng's cultivation was. At such a short distance, he wouldn't be able to block the sneak attack of this line of fire. What's more, she and Ning Cheng were still in the same barrier, which meant that as long as she sneak attacked, Ning Cheng wouldn't have any room to defend. Chapter 1358. Ning Cheng moved quickly in the Heaven Gate Thunder Pagoda. He suddenly felt some regret in his heart. He shouldn't have said that he didn't agree to join forces with Mo Zhou. Against people like Mo Zhou, any means wouldn't be too much. He should have agreed to join forces with Mo Zhou and then join forces with Mo Zhou's opponent to kill Mo Zhou. Unfortunately, he didn't know who Mo Zhou's opponent was. Even with Mo Zhou's strength, he still felt some fear towards his opponent, which showed how powerful that opponent was. The lightning arcs on the 9th floor weren't much stronger than the lightning arcs on the 8th floor. It just had some law lightning arcs. To Ning Cheng, these law lightning arcs were a bit similar to his law-breaking finger. Anyone who walked in the Heaven Gate Thunder Pagoda would have to bring out a defensive weapon and fully stretch out a protective domain. Even Ning Cheng was no exception. Whether it was a defensive weapon or a protective domain, they were all related to laws. These lightning arcs that could weaken laws could also directly reduce the protective weapon or defensive domain of the Tao charm of the Thunder Pagoda. The law-breaking spirit technique was one of Ning Cheng's great spirit techniques. Moreover, he had a deep understanding of the various laws of heaven and earth. These lightning arcs that weakened the laws of heaven and earth still had no effect on him. The ugly woman standing behind Ning Cheng felt even more shocked. She already knew that Ning Cheng was very strong. Only at this time did she realize that Ning Cheng wasn't just strong, but he was also strong to a terrifying degree. Ning Cheng reached the 10th floor with his fastest speed. Although the lightning arcs here weren't as strong as the 9th floor, the attributes of the lightning arcs were even more unpredictable. Lightning arcs of various law attributes continued to fall. If a cultivator's attribute countered it, they would have to leave this place as soon as possible. From this, it could be seen that the Heaven Gate Thunder Pagoda's 9th and 10th floors were a watershed. You can leave now. As soon as he entered the 10th floor, Ning Cheng stopped and turned around to speak to the ugly woman. Ah! The ugly woman, who had been sheltered by Ning Cheng's domain, seemed to have recovered and subconsciously said, "We're already on the 10th floor." Yes. After Ning Cheng finished speaking, he put away his protective domain and turned around to leave. Without Ning Cheng's protective domain, the ugly woman quickly brought out her defensive weapon and called out anxiously, "Tao Lord Ning." Ning Cheng stopped and looked at the ugly woman before speaking with a faint voice, "Is there anything else?" The ugly woman bowed towards Ning Cheng. "Many thanks for saving my life, Tao Lord Ning." Ning Cheng waved his hand and spoke, "It's just a trivial matter, you don't have to worry about it. Goodbye." It's a small matter to Tao Lord Ning, but to me, it's a matter of life and death. Tao Lord Ning, I'm sorry. You rescued me, yet I still wanted to plot against you. If you want to kill me, then please kill me. The ugly woman's tone turned calm. Wanting to kill Ning Cheng for revenge, she knew that there was no hope for her in this life. More importantly, she suddenly understood the principle of good and evil. It was just a matter of standing on a different point of view. Once changed a point of view, perhaps the good in your heart is evil to others. To the guests, killing chickens and lambs was a sign of goodwill and hospitality. In the case of chickens and sheep, it is the malice of taking their lives. Chickens and sheep in the mortal world might not have intelligence, but in the cultivation world, any living creature had the opportunity to transform into a human. The reason why she felt that Ning Cheng was her enemy was because she had once stood on the opposite side of Ning Cheng. Today, she was grateful to Ning Cheng because Ning Cheng saved her and brought her to the 10th floor where she could escape. To her surprise, Ning Cheng did not get angry. Instead, he looked at her and said calmly, "Since I saved you, I won't kill you for no reason." After that, Ning Cheng's gaze fell on her right hand, and his tone was even calmer. "You should also be glad that you didn't do it. If you did, you would no longer exist in this world. I don't know who you are, and I don't want to know. From now on, you and I will have nothing to do with each other." Ning Cheng had the mysterious yellow bead, cultivated the origin cultivation method, and had 2 sacred flames. Although this woman's Mars level was high, it could not hide from Ning Cheng's perception. This woman still had a grateful heart and did not make a move. Ning Cheng would not kill her like this. Moreover, he felt a trace of death from this woman, which showed that this woman had despair in her heart. He was not the kind of person who would kick someone when they were down. There was no need to argue with a woman who was prepared to die. "Ah!" The ugly woman screamed and subconsciously looked at her right hand. She really did not expect that everything was within Ning Cheng's expectations. If she had launched a sneak attack, then, even if she was prepared to die, the woman's heart turned cold. "Dao Lord Ning, you have to be careful of Mo Zhou. He will definitely kill you." Seeing that Ning Cheng was about to leave again, the ugly woman spoke again. Ning Cheng stared at the woman and had a guess in his heart. He vaguely guessed who this woman was. Thinking of this, he was not in a hurry to leave. Instead, he looked at the ugly woman and said, "In fact, I have already fought with him, but the outcome has not been decided. In this Heaven Gate Thunder Tower, I will fight with him sooner or later." The ugly woman's heart turned cold. She bowed and said, "Dao Lord Ning should have guessed who I am. My name is Yu Xiangbing, the 4th temple master of the 7 deities temple. I am also Moge's woman." Ning Cheng nodded. "I know that you are either Man or Bing Bing, but I don't know which one you are." Since the other party was Moge's woman, there was a reason for him to kill her. Not to mention that he had killed Mo Gu, he had also killed the 6th temple master named He Shanli. He had saved Yu Xiangbing, but Yu Xiangbing still wanted to plot against him. It should be for revenge. Yu Xiangbing responded, "Sister Man is the 3rd temple master. Her real name is Sure Man. Since we are enemies, we have nothing to do with each other. Please do as you please. You want to plot against me, but you are still too weak." This was the first time, and it was also the only time. "Next time, I will not show mercy." Ning Cheng wanted to ask about Zhu Yinghua, but thinking of the positions of both sides, he did not continue to make things difficult for this woman. From the fact that Yu Xiangbing had given up on attacking him, he could tell that she was not the kind of person who would bite the hand that fed her. Yu Xiangbing bit her lip and said, "I changed my face and came in not to plot against you, but to kill Mo Zhou, that animal. Dao Lord Ning, please allow me to follow you. As long as I am on the same level as this animal, I am confident that I can find where this animal is." After knowing that Mo Zhou's strength was comparable to Ning Cheng's, she knew that without Ning Cheng's help, it would be impossible for her to kill Mo Zhou, even with a sneak attack. Upon seeing Ning Cheng look at her in confusion, Yu Xiangbing said angrily, "Zhu Yinghua, that shameless slut, took us out of the Great Change Realm and said that she wanted to find someone to avenge Big Brother. In the end, she found Big Brother's family, the Mo family." At this point, Yu Xiangbing's hands even trembled a little and her tone became even more urgent. What we didn't expect was that the first thing Zhu Yinghua did when she came to the Mo family was to get together with Moge's uncle, Mo Zhou. That night, they did something improper. Zhu Yinghua was shameless, but she also plotted against Sister Sure Man and made her sleep with Mo Zhou. Sister Man couldn't bear the humiliation and committed suicide. When Zhu Yinghua wanted to do something to me, I took the opportunity to escape from the Mo family. So you came to Heavens Beyond and entered a fight because you wanted to kill Mo Zhou? Ning Cheng looked at Yu Xiangbing and asked slowly. Yu Xiangbing took a deep breath and shook her head. I know that my strength is too far from his. I want to take advantage of the time when he is fighting with others to use my sky-piercing slash to plot against him. Ning Cheng said faintly, fortunately, you didn't do that. Given Mo Zhou's strength, you couldn't have plotted against him. Even. Ning Cheng paused slightly before he looked at Yu Xiangbing and said, even Mo Zhou knew that you came to heavens beyond. After saying that, Ning Cheng was speechless. Mo Ge had deep feelings for his concubines. He probably hadn't expected that after his death, his concubines would either die or betray him. Upon hearing Ning Cheng's words, Yu Xiangbing was stunned. Only then did she realize that what Ning Cheng had said was possible. Since you hated Zhu Yinghua so much, why didn't you kill her? Why did you choose to kill Mo Zhou? Ning Cheng asked again. A trace of sadness flashed in Yu Xiangbing's eyes as she shook her head. I know I can't kill her. Zhu Yinghua is too terrifying. I'm afraid that even Mo Ge doesn't know why she stayed by Mo Ge's side. I've never seen anyone as scheming as her since I started cultivating. In fact, in addition to the 7 temple masters, there was also a princess. Mo Ge's younger sister, Mo Hua. Once, Mo Hua said that Zhu Yinghua was a little different from the other 5 sisters. She went out and never came back. 7th sister and I suspected that Zhu Yinghua was the culprit, but Zhu Yinghua didn't go out at all. What do you think Zhu Yinghua means by Mo Zhou's side? Ning Cheng asked cautiously. He suspected that Mo Ge knew how powerful Zhu Yinghua was. Otherwise, why would Mo Ge say that Zhu Yinghua would avenge him and not the others before he died? Yu Xiangbing shook her head and then said, if she wanted to get some benefits and then kill Mo Zhou, then Mo Zhou definitely wouldn't be able to escape from this woman's hands. After saying that, Yu Xiangbing looked at Ning Cheng expectantly and said, Dao Lord Ning, Big Brother used to oppose you. I know that it's not wrong to stand on your side. I only ask for one thing from you. That is, allow me to follow you and kill Mo Zhou here. He defiled Big Sister Yan, so I will never let him off. Ning Cheng hesitated for a moment before saying, you can follow me, but you have to change your attire. Your attire is too obvious. After you change, I'll help you change the protective laws. Presumably, Mo Zhou won't be able to detect your existence for a while. As for killing Mo Zhou, I'll do it. You just have to do one thing and help me find Mo Zhou. Yu Xiangbing was an extremely beautiful woman. An extremely beautiful woman could disguise herself as an ordinary woman, but she could never disguise herself as an ugly woman. Yu Xiangbing's disguise skills were very good, but her disguise strategy was very poor. Chapter 1359. Starting from the 14th floor of the Heaven Gate Thunder Tower, Yu Xiangbing was frightened with every floor she ascended. The lightning arcs after the 14th level were no longer lightning strikes on the surface. Various law pressure and lightning arcs of various attributes poured down. If it weren't for Ning Cheng's protective domain, Yu Xiangbing would have doubted that she could hold on until she was teleported out. Ning Cheng's expression also turned cautious. Although he did not tell Yu Xiangbing about it, he believed that the Heaven Gate Thunder Pagoda definitely did not have 36 floors. The lightning arcs on the 14th level could already easily kill a Dao integration late-stage cultivator. If there were 36 levels, perhaps it could even kill a creation realm cultivator, right? Yu Xiangbing was also thinking about this problem. If they were to go according to this method, they would only be able to reach the 20th level at most before the experts in the Confluence realm would not be able to hold on. Dao Lord Ning, I feel Mo Zhou's aura. Yu Xiangbing's voice interrupted Ning Cheng's doubts. Ning Cheng didn't know how Yu Xiangbing sensed Mo Zhou's aura, but it didn't matter to him. What he cared about was where Mo Zhou was. Tell me where he is. I'll head over immediately. You teleport out immediately. Our cooperation ends here. I'm going to follow him and plot against him. Yu Xiangbing clenched her fist and said. There was a star flame in her fist. Ning Cheng looked at Yu Xiangbing and spoke in a light voice, with your strength, you would not be able to sneak attack him. Tell me the location, I will go find him myself. Before Xiang Bing could reply, an intense spatial Taoist rhyme fluctuation could be felt. Ning Cheng had fought against Mo Zhou before. Therefore, as soon as he sensed this fluctuation, he knew that this person must be Mo Zhou. While Mo Zhou was fighting someone, Ning Cheng's figure flashed and disappeared. This was the 14th floor of the Heaven Gate Thunder Tower. Without the protection of his domain, Yu Xiangbing would at most be teleported out, and her life would not be in danger. Ning Cheng anxiously rushed over because he knew that Mo Zhou wanted to kill someone here. As for who Mo Zhou had killed, he did not know. He only knew that this person's strength was not much lower than Mo Zhou's. The higher the level of the Heaven Gate Lightning Tower, the stronger the isolation of one's divine sense. As Ning Cheng moved forward, he could only see a large number of lightning arcs sprinkling down. During this period, there were even huge bolts of lightning that fell one after another. Even such a terrifying lightning arc attack could not stop the intense fluctuations of Taoist rhymes from the battle. Ning Cheng easily found the two people fighting based on these fluctuations. One of them was Mo Zhou. Mo Zhou had already changed out of his blood-stained white robe. Even though he did not have the absolute upper hand, he was still suppressing his opponent. Mo Zhou's opponent was a man Ning Cheng had never seen before. His face was slightly purple, and his hair was casually tied behind his back without any kind of bun. This person's strength was not to be underestimated. There was a gourd above his head protecting his entire body, and when he attacked, there was a faint sound of wind and thunder. This kind of wind and lightning resonated with the wind and lightning of the Heavenly Gate Lightning Pagoda, forming a very strange balance. What made Ning Cheng even more shocked was that this purple-faced man gave off a kingly aura. His Taoist rhymes fluctuated with a powerful monarch aura. If not for the might of a sovereign personage, this purple-faced man would have been defeated long ago, not a match for Mo Zhou at all. Mo Zhou's weapon was the same as Ning Cheng's, a long spear. However, the path of his spear was completely different from Ning Cheng's spear Dao. Instead, it had a soul-stirring Taoist rhyme aura. Ning Cheng did not continue to pay attention to Mo Zhou. He looked at the purple-faced man and frowned slightly. He had never seen this purple-faced man before, but he was very familiar with the aura of this purple-faced man. It was the same aura he had when he went to the Absolute Beginning Realm to fight Dao Lord Chang Tian. At that time, Dao Lord Chang Tian used a spirit technique with a similar aura, with the might of a sovereign. However, at that time, Dao Lord Chang Tian used the Tai Chi Human King technique, which gave off this kind of monarch-like aura. However, this purple-faced man did not use the Tai Chi Human King technique at all. Just by relying on his own spirit technique and Taoist rhyme, he gave off a kind of monarch-like aura and oppression. This person was Kong Zai. Ning Cheng was sure of it immediately. He was sure that this purple-faced man was the Tai Chi realm's Kong Zai of the 5 Grand Realms, which was also the Human King Dao Lord. At that time, Dao Lord Chang Tian Zhu Chini once said that although he plotted against Kong Zai and snatched Kong Zai's Human King technique, he did not kill Kong Zai. This sentence meant that he snatched Kong Zai's Human King technique, and another person plotted against Kong Zai and killed him. In fact, Kong Zai eventually escaped. Otherwise, he would not have seen Kong Zai here. It was better if it was Kong Zai. After all, Kong Zai came from the 5 Grand Realms. Regardless of the origins of the 5 Grand Realms, the 5 Grand Realms were still under the Jiaoyang realm. Kong Zai's offensive weapon was a long pen. Ning Cheng soon discovered that Kong Zai's long pen was no weaker than the Tai Chi Human King technique. After bringing out this long pen, each stroke brought with it a space-tearing Dao charm aura. This powerful Dao charm aura seemed to determine Mo Zhou's life and death. Mo Zhou could only face it head-on and had no way to avoid it. Under this powerful Dao charm attack, not only did Mo Zhou not get suppressed, but he also gained a slight upper hand. Every time he brought out his long spear, a black and white yin and yang aura swirled around it. However, this aura seemed to have the intention of restraining Kong Zai. Boom boom boom. Kong Zai and Mo Zhou's Dao charm bombarded each other. Powerful Dao charm explosions erupted at every moment. These Dao charm explosions directly blocked the dense lightning arcs falling from the sky. Ning Qing could clearly see that while Mo Zhou and Kong Zai were entangled, Mo Zhou continued to arrange the trap and kill array. Perhaps Kong Zai felt that Mo Zhou was arranging the trap and kill array, but he had no way to avoid it. Ning Qing didn't continue to wait. He also threw out countless array flags. He didn't care about dealing with Mo Zhou. He couldn't wait for Kong Zai to die. Once Kong Zai lost, he might fall into the same predicament as Kong Zai if he wanted to deal with Mo Zhou. When Ning Qing threw out the array flags to arrange the trap and kill array, Mo Zhou immediately became vigilant. If not for Ning Qing's strength being no less than Mo Zhou's, and the cultivation method he cultivated was the good fortune origin cultivation method. Coupled with Mo Zhou being pinned down by Kong Zai, Ning Qing suspected that Mo Zhou had discovered him. Even so, it aroused Mo Zhou's vigilance. The moment the trap and kill array was completed, Ning Qing brought out the 5-colored star splitter arrow. At the same time, the 5-colored star splitter arrow locked onto Mo Zhou. The killing power instantly became even more violent. At this time, not to mention Mo Zhou, who was locked onto by the 5-colored star splitter arrow, even Kong Zai knew that someone was sneaking up on him. Not only did he not stop, but the long brush in his hand also drew one crisscrossing Dao charm after another, trapping Mo Zhou. With his strength, he could naturally see that the person who sneaked up on him was attacking Mo Zhou and had nothing to do with him. With such a good opportunity, he naturally wanted to take advantage of it to kill Mo Zhou. The aura of death shrouded the area, and Ning Cheng's figure also clearly appeared amidst the bombardment of lightning arcs. A long black arrow was attached to a 5-colored longbow that was gradually being pulled back. The powerful killing intent and killing power came from this black arrow. As the 5-colored longbow grew rounder and rounder, the black arrow gradually turned illusory. Finally, it turned into a hazy 5-colored brilliance. 5-colored star splitter arrow. Mo Zhou looked at the illusory figure that had locked onto his Dao charm aura in shock. "It's you." He recognized Ning Qing. The moment he saw Ning Qing, he knew that his trap and kill array had no effect. Since Ning Qing appeared here, he must have arranged the same trap and kill array around him. The purpose was to contain his trap and kill array. If he had to rely on his trap and kill array, he might have fallen into the same predicament as when he fought Ning Qing for the first time. Originally, he planned to join forces with Ning Qing to kill Kong Zai. But ironically, Ning Qing and Kong Zai joined forces to kill Mo Zhou. Mo Zhou forcibly burned away the violent Dao charm aura, and his hair turned gray in an instant. The next moment, his entire body turned illusory. Ning Cheng's eyes twitched slightly. He had brought out the 5-colored star splitter arrow with his strength, yet he couldn't lock onto Mo Zhou. This person was simply too powerful. It really was a fluke that he could injure him before. Even if he couldn't completely lock onto Mo Zhou, Ning Qing didn't wait any longer. The 5-colored star splitter arrow turned into nothingness and shot towards Mo Zhou with lightning arcs. In front of the 5-colored star splitter arrow, there was only a crack in the void. There was no distance between them. Gotcha! The trap and kill array that Ning Qing hastily arranged made a cracking sound at this moment. After this cracking sound, a puff sound was heard, and a bloody mist rolled out. Half of Mo Zhou's body was swept away by the 5-colored star splitter arrow and turned into a bloody mist. But Mo Zhou, with only half of his body, rushed out of Ning Cheng's trap and kill array and disappeared. Ning Qing sighed in his heart. Even under such circumstances, he couldn't kill Mo Zhou. This fellow's strength was much stronger than he had imagined. Ah! A shrill scream rang out. Ning Qing subconsciously looked in the direction that Mo Zhou escaped. Then he saw a line of fire cutting through the sky. Ning Qing immediately understood that Yu Xiangbing was hiding in that place and sneak attacked Mo Zhou again. This sneak attack caused Mo Zhou's injuries to worsen. Unfortunately, Ning Qing knew that Imo Zhou had escaped. Yu Xiangbing had risked her life to hide here and attack Imo Zhou, but she failed to kill him. This kind of gap in strength couldn't be solved by a sneak attack. Yu Xiangbing knew that Ning Qing had seen her. She cupped her fists towards Ning Qing and then directly teleported out of the Heaven Gate Thunder Tower. Ning Qing understood what Yu Xiangbing meant. In other words, he had saved her life. She knew that she couldn't seek revenge from him, nor could she seek revenge from him. This cupping of fists meant that the two of them would have nothing to do with each other in the future. Ning Qing felt relieved. He wasn't worried about Yu Xiangbing, but about Imo Zhou. Imo Zhou was severely injured. If he wanted to restore his current strength, it would probably take tens of thousands of years of secluded cultivation. He didn't have to worry about Imo Zhou anymore. This woman is really patient. She burned her life to block the various lightning arcs of the Heaven Gate Thunder Tower just to sneak attack Imo Zhou. Unfortunately, she didn't succeed. Kang Zai looked at the place where Yu Xiangbing disappeared and shook his head. After saying this, Kang Zai cupped his fists towards Ning Qing and said, "I am Ji Shu. Greetings, Dao friend. Thank you for your help just now." Chapter 1360. Ning Qing smiled slightly. "I thought you knew me." Ning Qing was not talking nonsense. Given his strength and identity, most of the people who came to Heavens Beyond should know him. Even Imo Zhou, who had just arrived, knew him. Unexpectedly, Kang Zai did not. Kang Zai said awkwardly, "I want to find something I lost, so I want to stay in Heavens Beyond. I only came here to sign up for the fight. I didn't participate in anything else, nor did I inquire about anything. Imo Zhou probably guessed what I was looking for. Besides, he coveted my Dharma treasure and always wanted to kill me. We fought and killed along the way to Heavens Beyond. Although I'm slightly weaker than him, he can't do anything to me." "I understand. You probably want to use Imo Zhou to hone your strength, right?" Ning Qing guessed that Kang Zai did not really want to stay in heaven and earth, but Imo Zhou did want to stay there. Kang Zai chuckled. "That's what I'm thinking, but I really want to stay in Heavens Beyond." Although he was not Imo Zhou's match, he was not afraid of him at all. It could be said that Imo Zhou could not kill him if he did not find someone to help him. As for finding people who were a threat to him, there weren't many of them in this universe. Ning Qing also smiled. "If I'm not wrong, you should be looking for the Tai Chi Human King art if you want to stay in Heavens Beyond." Kang Zai's expression changed. He took a few steps back and looked at Ning Qing vigilantly. "Do you know who I am?" Ning Qing nodded. "Not only do I know that you're the Human King Dao Lord Kang Zai of the 5 Grand Realms, but I also know who has your Tai Chi Human King art." In Ning Cheng's opinion, Kang Zai was definitely looking for the Tai Chi Human King art. Kang Zai staying in Heavens Beyond could also be explained. After all, Heavens Beyond was the place where the major plane intersected. Information was the most well-informed there. Once Kang Zai's Tai Chi Human King art appeared, as long as Kang Zai stayed in Heavens Beyond, he would definitely know. Kang Zai cupped his fists at Ning Qing politely. "I'm Kang Zai. May I know your title, Daoist?" Ning Qing waved his hand and spoke, "I am called Ning Qing. As for the Tai Chi Human King art, I have indeed seen it before. Not only have I seen it, but I have also fought against this magical weapon. At that time, the person who possessed the Tai Chi Human King art was too weak and wasn't my opponent." Kang Zai's eyes flashed with a trace of excitement. "Brother Ning, please tell me who has the Tai Chi Human King art?" From Kang Zai's eyes and tone, Ning Qing could feel that Kang Zai was very eager to learn the Tai Chi Human King art. At the same time, Ning Qing also had 2 big doubts. The first doubt was that Zhu Qinyi plotted against Kang Zai. Did Kang Zai not know about it? If Kang Zai knew, then he should have guessed who had the Tai Chi Human King art. Secondly, since Kang Zai had been plotted against, his strength should be lower than Zhu Qinyi's. The strength that Kang Zai displayed now was far greater than Zhu Qinyi's. don't you know who it was that sneak attacked you? Ning Cheng asked in puzzlement. Kong Zai shook his head and said, I don't know. I only know that I was ambushed twice. After I reincarnated, I lost the human king technique. Now that I've cultivated to this level, the first thing I want to do is to learn the Tai Chi human king art, as soon as possible. Ning Cheng suddenly felt moved. After Kong Zai reincarnated, his strength had once again cultivated to this level. Moreover, if he could reincarnate, then he wouldn't die completely. The person who ambushed you was Dao Lord Chang Tian of the Grand Beginning Realm. He was ambushed by Dao Lord Tai Shao Yi and lost the Grand Beginning Eternal Sky technique. Then, he ambushed you and took away the Tai Chi human king art. But according to him, he didn't kill you. Ning Cheng did not hide it and told Kong Zai directly. Kong Zai was stunned when he heard Ning Cheng's words. After a while, he murmured, I have the best friendship with Zhu Qinyi. Why would he sneak attack me? Ning Cheng did not explain. He couldn't explain this kind of thing at all, nor did he know what was going on. No, I have to go to the Grand Beginning Realm to find him now. Kong Zai immediately made up his mind. Ning Cheng suddenly said, I hope that Dao friend Kong can wait for me to deal with the matters in heavens beyond of heaven and earth before we go there together. Why? Kong Zai looked at Ning Cheng doubtfully. Ning Cheng still did not hide it and answered, he also took something from my friend. Although he wasn't my match at the time, he took the opportunity to seal the entire Grand Beginning Realm through the method of closing the realm. At that time, I had to break the realm seal of the Grand Beginning Realm in order to catch him, which would cause countless innocent people to die. At that time, I held back and left the Grand Beginning Realm. Now that I've successfully reached Dao integration, I can easily break the realm seal. It's just that I've been busy and haven't had the time to go there. When Kong Zai heard Ning Cheng's words, he said to Ning Cheng with cupped fists respectfully, okay, Kong Zai will definitely wait for Dao friend Ning to go there together. What he respected the most was people like Ning Cheng, but what he hated the most were those cultivators who, for their own selfishness, did not care about the life and death of others. Kong Zai and Ning Cheng felt like old friends at first sight. They chatted happily and finally called each other brothers. Kong Zai and Ning Cheng hit it off very well. As they chatted along the way, the two unknowingly arrived at the 19th floor of the Heaven Gate Dao Pagoda. On the 19th floor, even if Ning Cheng's body was strong, even if he had a thunder spiritual root and the ability to absorb the thunder source, he would still have to bring out his weapon to resist. Fortunately, although the everlasting Sky Thunder City was damaged, it was the best place to absorb the thunder source. Your weapon belongs to esteemed Limitless. If esteemed Limitless hadn't fallen, he might have come to settle accounts with you. Seeing Ning Cheng's everlasting Blue Thunder City, Kong Zai said with a smile. Ning Cheng didn't care. Esteemed Limitless must have fallen. Even if he hadn't fallen, he wouldn't fear esteemed Limitless. Brother Kong, we don't have to go up anymore. I'm afraid this Heaven Gate Thunder Pagoda doesn't have 36 floors. Otherwise, no matter how strong one is, they wouldn't be able to reach the 36th floor. Kong Zai shook his head and said, Brother Ning, you're wrong. Although the Heaven Gate Thunder Pagoda isn't a Khanate weapon, it's second only to Khanate weapons. Not only does it have 36 floors, but it's also a real 36 floors. But as for the Daoist controlling the Heaven Gate Thunder Pagoda, he has limited strength. At most, he could open more than 20 floors. As you said, it doesn't make any sense for us to go up. Once we get here, we can definitely enter the top 10. Ning Cheng knew that Kong Zai definitely knew more about this than him. Since Kong Zai said so, it also made sense. He suddenly remembered something and took out a pot handle fragment, handed it to Kong Zai and asked, Brother Kong, this pot handle fragment contains the shadow of a giant bell. Does Brother Kong know what kind of bell it is? Who owns this treasure? Kong Zai took the pot handle fragment from Ning Cheng's hand and swept it with his spiritual consciousness. After a while, he handed the pot handle fragment to Ning Cheng with a solemn expression and said, Brother Ning, I've seen this bell before. It's called the Primal Chaos Bell. The powerhouse who owns this bell is called Tao Lord Primal Chaos and is extremely powerful. Even when the Primal Chaos bell and the Good Fortune Indestructible axe collided, it didn't suffer any damage. After the First Good Fortune War, both Tao Lord Primal Chaos and the Primal Chaos bell disappeared. This Tao Lord Primal Chaos has a mysterious origin. Ning Cheng remained silent. This was another powerhouse who was no less powerful than the owner of a Good Fortune treasure or Tao Lord Fate. If these powerhouses also came out during the Second Good Fortune War, not to mention competing for first place, it might be difficult for him to even occupy a place. Brother Ning, it's still too early for the Second Good Fortune War. Let's go out. Kong Zai had amazing experience and could see Ning Cheng's worries at a glance. Given Ning Cheng's strength at the early stage Tao integration realm, it would be abnormal if he did not look forward to winning a place in the Good Fortune Gate. When Ning Cheng and Kong Zai landed on the competition platform, not many people came out. On the Tao Charm list outside the Heaven Gate Thunder Pagoda, Ning Cheng and Kong Zai were both on the 19th floor. Ning Cheng was temporarily ranked first. Ning Cheng did not see Mo Zhou, but he knew that Mo Zhou would not stay here. Even though Mo Zhou had won first place in the fourth category, Battle Formations, he would definitely have a place here. However, Mo Zhou was seriously injured. Even if he stayed here and obtained a place, he would not be able to keep it. Yu Xiangbing was also not on the competition platform. It seemed that she had left as soon as she came out. Ning Cheng and Kong Zai waited on the competition platform for about 4 hours before many contestants were teleported out of the Heaven Gate Thunder Pagoda. This time, because of Ning Cheng, Mo Zhou could not go on a killing spree in the Heaven Gate Thunder Pagoda. Even so, only about 600 people came out, and 100 or 200 people died in the Heaven Gate Thunder Pagoda. Tao Lord Gazing landed on the competition platform and nodded at Ning Cheng. Then, he cupped his fists and said, "The first round of the fifth category, Battle Formations, has ended. Now, the top 10, please stay on the competition platform. The rest of the contestants can leave the competition platform." The top 10 had already been shown in the Tao Charm outside the Heaven Gate Thunder Pagoda. There was no need for Tao Lord Gazing to repeat it. After hundreds of contestants left the competition platform, Tao Lord Gazing continued, "The first battle of the second round will be between Ning Cheng from the Grand Essence Realm and Lin Qi from the Longevity Realm." Ning Cheng stepped onto the 19th floor, although Kong Zai had also stepped onto the 19th floor. Because Ning Cheng had teleported out first, he was ranked first in the first round. Lin Qi had a creation realm cultivation, but in Ning Cheng's opinion, it was also a false realm. Xiao Xinxi and Ao Kan's creation realms were stronger than Lin Qi's. "I admit defeat." After Lin Qi knew that his opponent was Ning Cheng, he chose to admit defeat without hesitation. He had seen Ning Cheng's strength before. When Ning Cheng and the Sacred Tao Sect Master teamed up to deal with more than a dozen third-step experts, he had been watching from the outside. Although he had climbed to the 15th floor of the Heaven Gate Tao Pagoda, he knew very well that he could not compare to Ning Cheng in terms of strength. When Lin Qi walked off the competition platform, no one felt that he had done anything wrong. Ning Cheng and the Sacred Tao Sect Master had teamed up to defeat 14 third-step experts, including several integration realm powerhouses. With such strength, there should be no doubt that he would win first place. The others who participated in the battles worked hard to get second or third place. Chapter 1361. The second battle of the second round was between Kong Zai and the 9th ranker of the Heaven Gate Lightning Pagoda. The 9th ranker was a woman at the early stage of the creation realm. The difference in strength between him and Kong Zai was too great. If Kong Zai had not shown mercy, he would probably have lost his life. Ning Cheng naturally knew about Kong Zai's strength. Not to mention that Kong Zai was a grand ultimate Tao integration realm Tao Lord, even his strength when fighting against Mo Zhou was not something that ordinary creation realm cultivators could compare to. Initially, Ning Cheng thought that the three most powerful people in this battle should be him, Kong Zai, and Mo Zhou. But since he and Kong Zai teamed up to force Mo Zhou to run away, there shouldn't be any suspense about first and second place. However, after 5 rounds of fights, Ning Qing realized just how wrong his thinking was. Ning Qing was not the only powerhouse in the world. Kong Zai and Mo Zhou weren't the only powerhouses in this battle. In the 3rd and 5th matches, Ning Qing once again met 2 terrifying characters. Xiaojing Qian was a contestant from the 3 Elements realm. He was at the peak of the creation realm. This person was ranked 3rd in the Heavenly Gate Lightning Pagoda, but he had easily defeated his opponent, Wan Tai, who was ranked 8th in the Heavenly Gate Lightning Pagoda. In the introduction, Xian Mao was a wandering cultivator. It's just that this person was even more terrifying. Ning Qing suspected that this person was even stronger than Mo Zhou. In the Heaven Gate Lightning Pagoda, Xian Mao was only ranked 6th, yet he had instantly killed Wu Leng, who was ranked 5th. This was the only one out of the 5 matches where the contestant had died. In comparison, the innocuous realm's Yu Yunchen, who was ranked 5th in the Sky Gate Lightning Pagoda, had spent a lot of effort to defeat his opponent. Xiaojing Qian was one thing. In Ning Cheng's view, this person was at most a character similar to Feng Xian, although his strength was very strong, but it was not enough to pose a threat to him. As for that Xian Mao, Ning Qing felt a bit of fear in his heart. This person's skin was extremely white, and he looked very delicate. His magic treasure did not match his appearance. It was an octagonal cosmic hammer. That hammer strike he used to kill his opponent easily tore apart his opponent's law domain before directly hammering him to death. Since Ning Cheng's debut, he had seen more than one powerhouse who could destroy the laws of heaven and earth with just a raise of their hand. Most of these cultivators had powerful great paths and could override the rules of heaven and earth in the space they were in. But this Xian Mao, Ning Qing could only feel that his strength was just too formidable. He tore apart the laws of heaven and earth around him, relying solely on his own strength. Ning Qing also secretly sighed in his heart. In the vast universe, he had no idea how many powerful people were hidden within. It was just that the universe was too big, so he didn't know about it before. Xiaojing Qian, Xian Mao, and Mo Zhou had come to this competition. How many other experts like these 2 had not come? Brother Ning, I feel that this person is somewhat familiar. He most likely participated in the first Good Fortune War, but I can't remember who he is. Kong Zai looked at Xian Mao and cautiously whispered in Ning Cheng's ear. Ning Qing nodded. I can also see it, the cultivation method he uses tends to be very powerful. I'm thinking, could he be cultivating in a strength-type cultivation technique? Kong Zai said without hesitation, it must be a strength cultivation technique. Otherwise, it would be impossible for it to shatter the laws of the heaven and earth with a single hammer strike. If I'm not wrong, that octagonal cosmic hammer of his is something that ordinary people can't even lift. Ning Qing slightly frowned. He had also come into contact with some of the strength cultivation methods. His law-breaking finger actually had the shadow of a strength cultivation technique. It's just that he hadn't cultivated a strength cultivation technique. Moreover, his law-breaking finger was more inclined to his understanding and perception of the laws of heaven and earth. If Xian Mao had only cultivated a branch of a strength cultivation technique, then it wouldn't have mattered. But if this person cultivated a complete strength cultivation technique, then maybe he would be another Xing Shi. Dao Lord gazing landed on the battle platform, and his gaze also vaguely swept over Kong Zai and Xian Mao. He already knew about Ning Cheng's strength. Kong Zai and Xian Mao's strength had completely exceeded his expectations. Neither of these 2 was any weaker than Ning Cheng. Dao Lord gazing quickly retracted his gaze and spoke with a clear voice, Dao friends, the second round of the competition has ended. The top 5 are Grand Essence Realms Ning Cheng and Rogue Cultivator Kong Zai. Kong Zai's original name was Extreme Book, but it has been changed. 3 Essence Realms Xiaojing Qian, Innocuous Realms Yu Yunchen, and Rogue Cultivator Xian Mao. Now for the 3rd round, the 5 of you will draw lots. After saying that, Dao Lord gazing raised his hand and threw out 5 crystal balls wrapped in restrictions. Ning Qing raised his hand and caught one of them. He had good luck against Yu Yunchen. Among the 5, Yu Yunchen's strength should be the weakest. Kong Zai faced Xiaojing Qian. In Ning Cheng's opinion, Xian Mao, who was the strongest, had a bye. In the first match of the third round, Ning Cheng faced Yu Yunchen. Yu Yunchen's Dharma treasure was an ink dipper. When Ning Cheng saw this Dharma treasure, he remembered Kong Zai's Human Sovereign Book and the mysterious long brush. Innocuous realms. Yu Yunchen greets Dao friend Ning. Please show mercy. After Yu Yunchen brought out the ink dipper, he didn't attack immediately. Instead, he bowed and cupped his fists towards Ning Cheng. Anyone who came to heavens beyond earlier knew about the strength of Ning Cheng and the sacred Dao sect master. Yu Yunchen naturally knew about it, even though he felt that he shouldn't be Ning Cheng's opponent. But now that he was in this place, he really couldn't accept it without a fight. If he defeated Ning Cheng, he would directly enter the top 3. Ning Cheng nodded and brought out the creation divine spear before saying, "Let's do it." Good spear. After Ning Cheng brought out the creation divine spear, Xian Mao's eyes lit up and he immediately praised it. Dao friend Xian, why do you say that this is a good spear? Dao friend Ning is clearly using a high-grade divine artifact. Xiaojing Qian, who was standing next to Xian Mao, suddenly asked with a smile. Xian Mao glanced at Xiaojing Qian coldly. Who are you? Are you qualified to talk to me? You're just cultivating a small Dao. Xiaojing Qian's face turned cold. He wanted to make friends with Xian Mao because he saw that he was too powerful. He hadn't expected such a person to exist. In the Dao world, one should not take the initiative to offend others if there was no conflict of interest. This Xian Mao was too arrogant. He had only asked a question, and he had been humiliated like this. While the two of them were talking, Ning Cheng and Yu Yunchen had already started fighting. Yu Yunchen's ink dipper constantly drew out ink lines. Each ink line directly cut open the space and had nothing to do with the surroundings. However, Ning Cheng's spear pattern blocked the cut space unhurriedly. In the end, it actually formed pieces of spear pattern space. The Dao runes on the competition stage surged. On the surface, it looked much more exciting than the fight between the top 10 and the top 5. Only Yu Yunchen himself knew that not only was he not Ning Cheng's opponent, but he was also far from it. He indeed had a trump card that he hadn't used yet. But looking at Ning Cheng's appearance, he estimated that he hadn't even brought out a third of his strength. If he continued to fight, he would only be humiliating himself. Thinking of this, Yu Yunchen's ink dipper's ink lines suddenly gathered and formed a large ink domain. He wanted to withdraw from the battle and admit defeat. The instant his ink domain was formed, Yu Yunchen sensed that the ubiquitous spear patterns had disappeared. Even if he didn't form an ink domain, he could still retreat. Yu Yunchen's face turned red. He knew that if Ning Cheng wanted to kill him, he wouldn't have been able to fight with the other party for so long. He estimated that he would have lost a long time ago. Ning Cheng knew that he wanted to retreat and took the initiative to stop attacking. Many thanks, Dao friend Ning, for showing mercy. I've lost this fight. After Yu Yunchen finished speaking, he quickly withdrew from the battle stage. At this moment, he somewhat admired Lin Qi. Taking the initiative to admit defeat gave him a bit more face than fighting. Ning Cheng wins the first round of the third round. The second round will be fought by Kong Zai against Xiaojing Qian. As Dao Lord Mountain Gaze announced the start of the second round, Kong Zai and Xiaojing Qian were already standing in the middle of the battle stage. Xiaojing Qian had just been humiliated by Xian Mao, so his expression was still a little ugly. At this moment, he didn't have a good expression when facing Kong Zai. Are you thinking of defeating me and then teaching Xian Mao a lesson? Kong Zai looked at Xiaojing Qian and said with a smile. He had been listening to the conversation between Xiaojing Qian and Xian Mao. You're right. If you admit defeat, I'll have less strength. Xiaojing Qian had already regained his composure when he heard Kong Zai's words. For many years, everyone who spoke to him had been very respectful. At this moment, he suddenly realized that someone who didn't take him seriously was a little out of sorts. He should have remembered that he had been respected in the Three Essence realm. This was the beyond of heaven and earth, where the peerless experts of this universe gathered. Since everyone was a peerless expert, why should he lose his composure when he was humiliated by others? Xiao Jingqian took a deep breath and completely adjusted his mentality. Even his state of mind had improved slightly. Xiao Jingqian sighed. He wasn't happy because of this. Instead, he was a little disappointed that he couldn't be absolutely indifferent to praise and humiliation. Not bad. You adjusted your mentality very quickly. It seems like you don't care about what happened just now anymore. It's no wonder that you have such achievements. However, I want to tell you that you and Xian Mao are both wrong, Kong Zai said unhurriedly. Xiao Jingqian looked at Kong Zai in confusion. He knew that Kong Zai was very strong, but he didn't understand what Kong Zai meant. Kong Zai said faintly, in fact, Xian Mao didn't look down on you. Instead, he valued you very much. He didn't say you were anything, but he wanted to affect your state of mind. Although you've let go of your anger just now, you still desire to get rid of Xian Mao and take revenge. You're saying that the reason Xian Mao said those words just now was to disturb my state of mind and make me want to kill him so that he can take advantage of me? After Xiao Jingqian asked this question, he knew that Kong Zai was right. Xian Mao must have had such thoughts. Kong Zai nodded. Actually, Xian Mao probably regarded you as his strongest opponent. Therefore, when you asked that question, he tore a crack in your state of mind. On the surface, you don't seem to care about this matter anymore, but this crack is still there. That's my fault. Xian Mao succeeded, Xiao Jingqian answered calmly. Kong Zai shook his head. He was wrong. Actually, his strongest opponent isn't you. You said that you will fight Xian Mao in the end? After Xiao Jingqian asked this question, killing aura surrounded him and a huge mirror appeared above his head. Kong Zai extended the long brush in his hand and drew waves of Dao rune fluctuations. However, he said, it's not me either. Take a look at my one-stroke painting spring and autumn first. Chapter 1362. Under Kong Zai's stroke, instead of saying that the 4 seasons began to change, it was more accurate to say that the various Dao charm laws began to change rapidly. Ning Cheng had seen Kong Zai and Mo Zhou fight before, but he didn't know that Kong Zai had such a move. This kind of rapid change in attribute laws was the most difficult to resist. However, Ning Cheng felt that this method wouldn't have much use against him. He had a full attribute spiritual root and cultivated various Dao charm laws. Even if Kong Zai's spirit technique changed rapidly, it wouldn't affect him at all. Xiao Jingqian also didn't care about it. The huge mirror turned into an illusory space, which instantly covered the battle stage. At this time, the onlookers, including Ning Cheng, could only see the various Dao charm laws constantly changing in the middle of the battle stage. A moment ago, it was scorching hot, but a moment later, it turned ice cold. All kinds of Dao charm laws collided in the illusory space in the middle of the battle stage, and Dao charm ripples spread out over the battle stage. Although the onlookers didn't know the situation of the battle between the two, they couldn't help but secretly feel shocked. It's just that the battle stage didn't allow one's spiritual consciousness to penetrate it, so one could only see it with their own eyes. Therefore, no one knew who had the upper hand in this clash of Dao charm laws. Ning Cheng's gaze moved away from the battle circle in the middle of the battle stage and glanced at Xian Mao. He saw Xian Mao shake his head. Apparently, he wasn't satisfied with the battle. Ning Cheng's heart moved. Could this Xian Mao see the battle clearly? Even if he stood on the battle stage, he could only vaguely feel that Kong Zai had a slight upper hand through the fluctuations of the Dao charm collision. If Xian Mao could see through this situation with his naked eyes, it meant that he had a Dao Eye spirit technique. If that was the case, then he might have seen through the results of the draw. Boom! An even more violent explosion interrupted Ning Cheng's thoughts. A huge decree word almost covered the entire battle stage. The decree word carried an imperial aura, as if the universe itself was pressing down and imprisoning Xiao Jingqian's huge mirror. The Dao charm obstruction in the middle of the battle stage had disappeared, leaving only Kong Zai and Xiao Jingqian facing each other. The only difference was that Xiao Jingqian's mirror was imprisoned by Kong Zai's decree word. Boom! The two confronted each other for less than 3 breaths, and the imprisoned mirror erupted with a violent roar. Then, the giant mirror soared into the sky and broke free from the word decree. After the giant mirror broke free, the word decree also vanished into thin air. A trace of blood leaked out from the corner of Xiao Jingqi's mouth. He did not wipe it off, nor did he continue attacking. Instead, he looked at Kong Zai and said, "It looks like you were right. I have lost this battle." Kong Zai did not feel proud at all. He put away his brush and said, "I have more experience than you." Xiao Jingqian nodded, turned around and walked out of the stage. What he said just now meant that the reason why he lost was not because he was weak. But just as Kong Zai had said, he was not as experienced as Kong Zai. Dao Lord Wangshan came to the competition platform again and nodded at Kong Zai. Then, he said to the crowd, "The top 3 have been decided. Let's continue to draw lots and then proceed to the 4th round." Kong Zai raised his hand to stop mountain-gazing Dao Lord from speaking. "There's no need to draw lots. Ning Meng and I will not get a bye. The one who gets a bye is definitely the other one. Ning Cheng and I are friends, and I don't want to fight. In that case, it's better for me to be 3rd. When Ning Cheng heard Kong Zai's words, he knew that Kong Zai recognized Xian Mao. At the same time, Kong Zai's words also showed that Xian Mao could see through the restriction on the lot ball. Dao Lord Wangshan felt helpless. He understood Kong Zai's words, but unfortunately, he had no way to stop it from happening. He couldn't ask Ning Cheng for help. Ning Cheng was a contestant, while he was the host of the competition. It represented their incompetence. Besides, Ning Cheng might not be able to stop Xian Mao from seeing through the restriction on the lot drawing. Xian Mao glanced at Kong Zai and said in a flat tone, "Whether you participate or not, you will be the 3rd. After saying this, Xian Mao walked directly to the middle of the battle platform and said to Ning Cheng, "Let's end this quickly. This is the last round of the competition." As if to deliberately oppress Ning Cheng's mind, Xian Mao deliberately swung the cosmic hammer in his hand a few times. With just a few swings, Ning Cheng felt the laws of the surrounding space start to tremble. This was a powerhouse, a true powerhouse. Ning Cheng clenched the good fortune divine spear. He didn't have any confidence in this battle. However, it wouldn't be easy for Xian Mao to kill him. "Your long spear looks good. Where did you get it?" What Ning Cheng didn't expect was that Xian Mao, who regarded other people's lives as ants, didn't start the fight immediately. Instead, he asked Ning Cheng an irrelevant question. Ning Cheng knew that Xian Mao was a fellow who ignored the life and death of others. In the previous 5 rounds, he killed his opponents alone. With Xian Mao's strength, if he didn't want to kill, he could easily defeat his opponents. Therefore, he didn't have a good impression of Xian Mao. "Where my weapon came from has nothing to do with you. It's like I didn't ask you where your weapon came from. As you said, let's end this quickly." Xian Mao showed a slight smile and didn't feel angry. "I can admit defeat, as long as you give me your long spear." Ning Cheng showed a faint smile. "Why don't you give me your octagonal hammer as a paperweight?" "I happen to lack a paperweight." Xian Mao's eyes flashed with sarcasm. "No one in this world can use my heaven and earth hammer as a paperweight. Let's talk about your long spear. I know your strength, and you are not my opponent. Of course, it would take me a lot of effort to kill you, and I don't like to waste time. Besides, it doesn't matter to me whether I kill you or not. If I didn't guess wrong, your long spear is refined from the profound sky iron essence and the 5 elements spirit water, right? You have the 5 elements spirit water and the profound sky iron essence." Hee, as far as I know, there is only one piece of the profound sky iron essence, and it was snatched away by that axe-wielding fellow. How did it end up in your hands? Ning Cheng's eyes twitched. Xian Mao could see the material of the good fortune divine spear. Once something like the 5 elements spirit water was exposed, wouldn't it mean that his good fortune mysterious yellow bead would be exposed again? "You don't have to worry, I can see it." It's because your long spear hasn't advanced to the point of surpassing the best quality spirit artifact, so I can." Before he could even finish his words, the octagonal hammer in Xian Mao's hand suddenly smashed towards Ning Cheng with a violent aura. It didn't use any spirit techniques, just a head-on attack. Ka-ka-ka-ka. Ning Cheng heard bursts of fragmenting laws. These fragmenting laws didn't just belong to the laws between heaven and earth, but even his domain began to shatter. This person was too strong. Xian Mao was not only strong, but also insidious. After attracting Ning Cheng's attention, he suddenly attacked. In Ning Cheng's eyes, this person was a person who would achieve his goals by hook or by crook. Ning Cheng brought out the fifth reincarnation bridge, and at the same time, the good fortune divine spear's traceless spear pattern formed. Boom! The octagonal hammer hadn't even hit the reincarnation bridge when the bridge trembled violently. Cracks started to appear on the bridge's surface. For the first time, the reincarnation bridge looked so fragile. A dull force slammed into Ning Cheng's Dao charm, suppressing Ning Cheng to the point that he almost vomited. Boom! Squeak squeak squeak. The good fortune divine spear and Xian Mao's octagonal hammer's Dao charm finally collided. Ning Cheng's aura of Dao charm, under the power of the octagonal hammer, directly collapsed. The traceless spear pattern's method of tearing through the void had no effect in this place. Any Dao aura or divine ability would be directly shattered by such a crushing and powerful bombardment. Ning Cheng took in a deep breath, and his Dao charm crazily swept towards the good fortune divine spear. At the same time, he brought out the Seven Bridges Realm book. After the Seven Bridges Realm book, he also brought out the first Bridge of Coping, the second Looking Home Bridge, the third Forgetting River Bridge, the fourth Yellow Springs Bridge, and the sixth Other Shore Bridge. Apart from the battle with Xing Shi, when Ning Cheng brought out 6 bridges at the same time, he had never brought out all 6 bridges in a fight against others. Even when he fought against Xing Shi, he didn't bring out the Seven Bridges Realm book. But at this time, he even brought out the Seven Bridges Realm book. The 7 bridges instantly connected, and the surging Dao charm rumbled endlessly in the void. The originally cracked 5th reincarnation bridge also began to repair due to the intervention of the 7 Bridges Realm book. The 6 bridges stretched on, and the Dao charm surged, forming a unique law-based space. In this place, one would die if they lived, and one would die if they died. The 7 bridges connected, and there was no turning back. You could go, but you couldn't. Xian Mao, who originally had a calm expression, turned ugly when he saw Ning Cheng's 6 bridges. When he saw the Dao charm of the 6th Other Shore Bridge sweeping towards him, he almost turned around and ran away. Fortunately, his strong will helped him stabilize his footing. But in the end, he didn't see the 7th reincarnation bridge, which made him sigh in relief. As long as the 7th reincarnation bridge didn't exist, he wouldn't fear it even if the 7 Bridges Realm book connected it. The huge millstone under the reincarnation bridge tumbled, and the huge Dao charm grinded away the huge power of the octagonal heaven-earth hammer. Although the reincarnation bridge couldn't support this violent aura, Ning Cheng stood on the Yellow Springs Bridge and brought out the Good Fortune Divine Spear to help. Moreover, the 7 Bridges Realm book also repaired the damage to the 7 bridges. Under such circumstances, the hammer that tore through the planar boundaries was actually blocked. Xian Mao gave a muffled groan. Was this enough? He opened his mouth and spat out an arrow of blood, forcibly cutting off the Dao charm of the octagonal heaven-earth hammer. The octagonal heaven-earth hammer swung again. This time, it seemed to swallow the mountains, rivers, and the universe as it smashed towards Ning Cheng and his 6 bridges. Die! Xian Mao's eyes were full of hostility. Ever since he achieved great success, no one with a weaker cultivation had ever made him feel so embarrassed. Even though his current strength wasn't even 1,000th of his peak, he still believed that he could turn Ning Cheng into nothingness with this hammer. The surging Dao charm trembled under this hammer, and even the 7 Bridges Realm book, which was connected to the 6 bridges, made a buzzing sound at this moment. It wasn't that the 7 Bridges Realm book wasn't strong enough, but that Ning Cheng's strength was too weak to bring out 1/10,000th of the 7 Bridges Realm book's strength. As the hammer fell, the sky was obscured, and as the hammer fell, the earth shook. Everyone outside the heavens beyond competition stage looked at this hammer in disbelief. They kept retreating and sighing at the same time. So what if they occupied the heavens beyond? Could the heavens beyond of heaven and earth remain intact after this hammer fell? Chapter 1363. The laws shattered and space collapsed. Even if Ning Cheng's 7 Bridges Realm book could barely connect the 6 bridges, it couldn't block such a terrifying hammer. In the face of absolute power, ordinary nomological spirit powers were nothing. If Ning Cheng had the time to think about it, he would even wonder why the strength spirit power wasn't classified as the number 1 spirit power. Under this hammer, there was nowhere to hide except to resist it. At the same time, Ning Cheng also felt Xian Mao's cold-blooded ruthlessness. Even if he could avoid this hammer, more than 80% of the people on the heavens beyond square would die. Almost 100 million people came to participate and watch the Heavens Beyond Grand Tournament, and tens of millions of people gathered on the square. Not only did Xian Mao's hammer destroy the Heavens Beyond Square, but it also broke the laws of Heavens Beyond Square. Many people also felt the terror of this hammer, and they all fled. Unfortunately, this hammer used just its strength to lock down the space in this area. The people on the square could only feel that their movements were slow, even if they had calm strength. The violent aura suppressed Ning Cheng, making it difficult for him to even open his eyes. Ning Cheng's heart was like a mirror. If he couldn't block this hammer, he would die without a doubt. After he died, most of the people here would die as well. People with ability wouldn't be stupid enough to help others. Facing Xian Mao's hammer head-on, they would only make way. Essence blood and Tao runes burned crazily at this moment, and the 7 bridges could only slow down the hammer for a moment. Ning Cheng didn't flinch. Instead, he faced the hammer head-on and blasted out a finger at the same time. It wasn't the order-breaking finger, but the 3rd stage of the Age Realm, look back without reincarnation. Although Ning Cheng rarely used the 3rd stage of the Age Realm, it wasn't the first time he used it. It was just that every time he used the 3rd stage of the Age Realm, Ning Cheng always felt that something was missing. It was precisely because of this that he rarely executed the 3rd stage of the 3 stages of the Flowing Time Realm. Every time, he would only execute the 1st and 2nd stages. He only used the 3rd stage occasionally when he encountered a strong enemy. It was far inferior to his order-breaking finger, but it wasn't as good as he wanted it to be. This time, under the intense aura of death, Ning Cheng suddenly brought out the 3rd layer of flowing time. As the Tao runes of the endless years circulated, it was as if a window had suddenly opened in his mind. Through this window, he saw a new world. The pressure on the octagonal cosmic hammer seemed to have abruptly lessened, and his breathing became much smoother. At this moment, Ning Cheng felt as if he was standing on the endless river of time. He looked at the flow of the river of time, and he saw the river of time sweeping away all life and death at its edge. A feeling of joy and sorrow welled up in his heart, causing Ning Cheng to suddenly realize that the passage of time was not only about time, it was not only about life, it was also about the joys and sorrows of separation and reunion. No matter ugly, no matter beautiful, no matter good, no matter evil, in the face of time, everything was illusory. Whether they were strong or weak, they couldn't stop the passage of time. This was because no one under the passage of time could surpass this. He just happened to be standing on the edge of life and death, standing on the horizon between surpassing and being surpassed. Thinking about the passage of heaven and earth, tears flowed down his cheeks. Ning Cheng suddenly felt that he had finally grasped the edge of the 3rd layer of flowing time. The passage of time carried emotions, and the passage of time carried vicissitudes. Perhaps when the passage of time washed away these emotions and vicissitudes, it would allow him to go further. But all of this had nothing to do with samsara. However, Ning Cheng didn't have time to comprehend it at this moment. The Tao of flowing time in his hand flowed like a river, pouring down like the raging waves of the universe. The octagonal cosmic hammer was still the same octagonal cosmic hammer, and the space was still the same space. But everything had become a little different. The octagonal cosmic hammer was surrounded by the Tao runes of flowing time and grew slower and slower. The hammer had only smashed down for a moment, but it had experienced countless mottled years. A kind of Tao rune of life and death lingered in Xian Mao's mind. His will no longer contained the hammer's indomitable will to destroy heaven and earth. Instead, it contained a trace of the fetters of time. No, this person's Tao rune spirit technique was so terrifying. Xian Mao's expression changed. He had experienced the Great Creation War, so how could he not know that his strength spirit technique wasn't invincible? In front of a supreme spirit technique, strength spirit techniques could only be ranked behind. When the endless Tao runes of flowing time arrived, Xian Mao's octagonal cosmic hammer's aura surged violently again. At the same time, Xian Mao spat out a mouthful of blood, and his Tao runes became even more restless. He never thought that a Tao unification holy emperor could push him to this point. Ning Cheng's face turned pale, and his flying body suddenly began to fall. The Tao runes of flowing time also slowly dissipated under the violent power of the cosmic hammer. Ning Cheng knew very well that he couldn't back down at this time. The finger wrapped in the Tao runes of flowing time suddenly bent and pointed again. The Tao runes of flowing time suddenly dissipated, and the laws of space came under the control of this finger. Everything between heaven and earth seemed to shatter under this finger. All the power between heaven and earth also condensed under this finger. This finger swept away all the imposing aura. It was also a finger spirit technique derived from strength spirit techniques, the order-breaking finger. No matter how powerful one's power was, it was still a law. As long as it was a law, the order-breaking finger could break it. The previous hammer strike was too powerful, so Ning Cheng used the Tao runes of flowing time before using the Tao runes of flowing time again. Xian Mao felt the powerful imposing aura of Ning Cheng's finger and sucked in a breath of cold air. Under this finger, his earth-shattering aura finally came to a halt. At this time, Xian Mao felt even more afraid of Ning Cheng. If Ning Cheng had used this finger as soon as he arrived, he would have been able to smash Ning Cheng's palm with his hammer and then blast Ning Cheng into pieces. However, Ning Cheng had used the Tao runes of flowing time, which suppressed his imposing aura. Before his new imposing aura could rise, Ning Cheng's finger seemed to have struck the vital point of his charging army. Whether it was imposing aura or laws, sometimes it was just a breath away. Although Ning Cheng's strength wasn't as good as Xian Mao's, Ning Cheng had seized this breath first and dealt him a fatal blow. Ning Cheng's actions were just right for him to strike the middle of the river. Boom! Kacha, the powerful power of the octagonal cosmic hammer still shattered all the aura in front of Ning Cheng's law-breaking finger. Ning Cheng's finger cracked, and his body was blasted away. Although the octagonal cosmic hammer had shrunk infinitely under this finger, the battle stage in the middle of the heavens beyond public square still turned into ruins under the remaining power of the octagonal cosmic hammer. At the same time, Xian Mao was also blasted away by Ning Cheng's law-breaking finger. In the pit of the battle stage that had turned into ruins, Xian Mao's octagonal cosmic hammer lay inside. After Xian Mao stood still, he completely ignored the blood stains all over his body, and continued to stare at Ning Cheng who was standing opposite to him. After a dozen breaths, he finally spoke up in a cold voice, "You are very strong, but today you managed to take advantage of me. I hope that your luck will always be this good. Don't let this lord run into you again." After saying this, Xian Mao raised his hand, and the octagonal cosmic hammer, which had smashed the battle stage into nothingness, flew out of the pit and fell into his hand. Then, his figure flashed and disappeared from the heavens beyond public square. Since Xian Mao's debut, he had never suffered such a big setback from someone with a lower cultivation than him. He had even blasted his own weapon down, let alone touched it. If it weren't for the mysterious yellow heavens beyond public square today, he would have followed up and killed Ning Cheng. However, even though he had blasted Ning Cheng away, he was still injured. If he were to make a move now, not to mention others, even Kong Zai would not sit back and watch. He might even take the opportunity to kill Xian Mao. In that case, he might as well leave early and wait for the next time to take revenge. Ning Cheng did not say a word. He knew that even though it seemed like he had won, he had actually lost. If this had not been the mysterious yellow heavens beyond, Xian Mao would not have let him off. Of course, he was not afraid. Although Xian Mao was strong, he could not kill him. Feeling the bones in his body shatter and the blood qi continuously flow out, Ning Qing took out a drop of quintessential essence of the universe and swallowed it. At the same time, he sighed in his heart. After today, there was only one drop left of the 18 drops of quintessential essence of the universe. After Xian Mao left, the entire heavens beyond public square was silent. No one spoke. Kong Zai came to Ning Cheng's side immediately. He looked at Ning Cheng's slightly gray sideburns, which had been caused by burning his blood essence, and said with a sigh, "I didn't expect you to actually blast Xian Mao away." Ning Cheng, who was gradually recovering, shook his head. "I'm not his match, and the gap is huge. He lost because he looked down on me too much and thought that strength could destroy everything. I happen to have seen a branch of strength divine power." Kong Zai nodded. Strength can indeed destroy everything, but his strength is not enough. At that moment, Dao Lord Mountain Gaze flew out and looked at Ning Cheng gratefully. At the same time, he waved his hand and the huge ravine created by the octagonal cosmic hammer instantly healed. However, he did not build a new competition platform. Instead, he stood in the void and said loudly, "The 5th round of the fight has ended. The first place is Ning Cheng of Grand Simplicity, the second place is itinerant cultivator Xian Mao, and the third place is itinerant cultivator Kong Zai." At that moment, the people on the heavens beyond public squares snapped out of their shock. Xian Mao's strength was too terrifying. The fact that Ning Cheng could withstand such a powerful bombardment was even more shocking. It was not certain who would win the fight between Xian Mao and Ning Cheng. Many people could even see that Ning Cheng was at a disadvantage. Xian Mao had the strength to continue killing Ning Cheng, but Ning Cheng did not have the strength to continue killing Xian Mao. However, now that Xian Mao had escaped, Ning Cheng was naturally the first place. Only Kong Zai did not see it this way. He believed that Ning Cheng had won. In terms of the fight, Ning Cheng could not compare to Xian Mao. However, Ning Cheng had taken a drop of what seemed to be the quintessential essence of the universe. If it was really the quintessential essence of the universe, Ning Cheng would have the strength to fight again. After the noise on the public square subsided a little, Dao Lord Mountain Gaze said, "The division competition of the heavens beyond realm has ended and the top 10 have been decided. Now, the Heaven Lord of the heavens beyond, Daoist Feng Huangmei, will announce the top 10. Feng Huangmei walked in front of Ning Cheng and said, "Thank you, Brother Ning." Ning Cheng knew what Feng Huangmei meant. If Ning Cheng had not blocked Xian Mao's last 2 hammer strikes, he was afraid that this competition would have been a tragedy. Ning Cheng smiled. "Heaven Lord Feng, feel free to announce it. From today onward, Heavens Beyond will no longer be a place that anyone can jump in." After this competition, everyone knew that the ones who could really gain a foothold in Heavens Beyond were the large plain realms. Once these people stayed in Heavens Beyond for a long time, even Xing Shi would have to take it into consideration.